Alright, hello and welcome to the finale of the biggest game of all time. In this one, we are going to run through from 1646 to the end of 1649, which is the end of this game. I am here once again with Ezio, who's playing Stockholm. Hi, Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And I am, of course, playing Ghent, who is still in Nantes over here on one supply centre, just frantically trying to get another. Ezio, do you want to talk about where we left off? Like, what's going on with you up here in the Viking Alliance?
Yes, so we're still dealing with the ramifications of these two subs coming in exchange of Spitsbergen and Oslo. So, currently I'm sitting in Oslo and Skagerrak. It's pretty surprising to me that I'm in both. And I have a really tough question of do I just take Bergen or not? Because I can take Bergen and no one's gonna stop it. Um, and it gets me another dot, and that's usually a good thing. You'll see I'm currently on 4 dots. I have a deal with Umia to get me on to have Finland take Wilno. Um, so we should be fine in that front. So I'm not going up to 5 and winning. But like if I take Bergen, I would be going up to 5 and would still be building, and that's a good thing. I like building. I like being strong and out in front. Um, but this dot is Spitsbergen's dot, technically, that Spitsbergen chose to give and leave to Oslo. Um, Finland, up to this point in the game, has been expressing a lot of discomfort with dealing with the Western Vikings.
Yeah.
Just, it's a huge pain to be paying attention to the entire map, and almost all of Finland's game has been focused on the East. So he's been talking about doing a real split between East and West Vikings so that way he doesn't have to worry about it. Which means maybe he won't care too much if I kill Bergen. Maybe he'll still work with me. And at this point with the Vikings, there's really like my relationship with Utrecht and Gothenburg is important, but my my relationship with Finland is still important. But um Trondheim is not doing great. They're only on 2 centers, and one of their centers is over in Arkhangelsk. So that's not the biggest deal in the world. And Spitsbergen can't really do anything to me. London is being pinned down by a bunch of other powers, so maybe this is the time to actually go for a step, and maybe this is the time to take Bergen. Um, Looking back on the game, I regret I decided not to take Bergen. I regret not doing it. So Ezio looks at a game and decides he should have stabbed more. Um,
You saw Dot and you did not take Dot. This was,
and I am filled with regrets about not taking this thought.
But the
But
main,
I wanted,
I guess the main
sorry,
thought was you don't want to be the board leader, right? Or like a clear, out in front board leader.
being the clear out and board leader after stabbing my alliance does seem like a scary thing in exchange for a single dot. And it's worth noting that I've already agreed with Oslo that they are going to be disbanding Bergen. Like Oslo has said, "Hey, I'm your vassal. I'll do whatever you say." And like, yeah, you're a Viking. That's what it means to be a Viking. Um, but not really. But him more than most, because obviously I can eliminate him just like a vassal. So he's gonna disband the army anyways. So things are fine. Um, and tactically, um, Spitsbergen is going to be able to get into Iceland Basin, and so things are looking fine because I expect Dublin is going to cover Reykjavik and isn't going to risk that.
Yeah.
And if Edinburgh works with us, then we're fine. Right, North Sea supports hold Oxford, and Edinburgh supports hold Plymouth, and then Oxford is doing great, staying on 3. Oh, sorry, London.
Sorry,
London is
London.
staying on
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll finish off the rest of the Brits in a year or two. Edinburgh is gonna collapse, and then we'll be fine. Honestly, Irish Sea could probably take Edinburgh too, and that would work as well, right? Just doesn't need. It just doesn't. It shouldn't support Wales and Plymouth is the big idea.
Hmm.
But yeah, then Eddie would probably get to three, wouldn't be fine. So I'm not too worried about that front. And like, hey, if they get pissed at me if I stab Bergen and the Brits get all cleaned up, like that'd be bad for me. So I don't know. It was me not wanting to stab the Alliance here because I thought they were going to continue working with me, and I thought that me taking this thought was just a little bit too much. Um, but I regret it. I think I should have taken the thought. I'm
Hmm.
sad about it. The other big negotiation that I have this phase with internal Vikings is I'm trying to convoy the army in Helsingfors out into Courland.
Over here,
I
yeah.
want to move Courland into Gulf of Gdansk, and I assume that, and I tell Finland to support Helsingfors to Courland with Warsaw. Um, just the thing, Finland has been pretty checked out. Like I said, he wanted to step back from the Western Vikings this phase, and so this phase he was just like, "Yo, tell me what to do and I'll do it." Um, and then I'm like, "All right, this should be fun. You'll support the convoy, so you're gonna end up in Courland. You're gonna take Wilno, so you'll be on three, or no, you'll be on four. I'll be on four, and we'll be even in great shape." Because, like, you see my units at the moment, right? Me convoying Helsingfors out. I don't have anything in Stockholm. He won't have anything in Umeå. He'll be able to build in Helsingfors and then take Narva. I'll be able to take Umeå, and we stay safe, like, and balanced.
And most
And
importantly, you'll have the dots to form Sweden.
I would have the dots to form Sweden with that Narva Umeå trade. But even if we don't do the Narva Umeå trade, we'll still be okay. Like, the main thing is we'll have armies in Courland and Warsaw, and hopefully you'll have a fleet in Gulf of Gdansk as well. But that can be balanced, obviously. So it's
Hmm.
not a guarantee. But that's why it's important that Finland supports the convoy in. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's the big thing that's happening over here. And then Archangelsk has the same negotiation with that we on the previous phase, where he is going to take Astrakhan in exchange for me not building a fleet in the last turn. So,
Yeah.
or for me building a fleet, not an army last turn.
And Astrakhan is getting supported into Circassia, right? That was the
But
H3
yeah, there's
arrangement.
something like that going on for sure. And I mean, Circassia, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, okay, cool. So, da da da. We talked about the Western Viking, Northern Vikings.
Should I discuss my region then? Oh, I did want
Yeah,
to
go
ask you
for it.
one thing here. Is Edinburgh officially a part of the Vikings at this point?
He is still officially a part of the Vikings for his stab on Ireland, but he has made a lot of talks about working with Ireland and Oxford here,
Hmm.
um, which is scary. But again, I'm fine with the Vikings being duplicitous to other alliances and telling them they're going to work with them. And then Great Britain, it makes perfect sense to tell people to do stuff and then you'll stab them. So he's still technically a Viking, but it's like definitely a scary thing that he hasn't been Vikings long enough to get audited, so
Hmm.
I guess it's okay. But
Gotcha.
London is freaking out. London is like, oh my God, they're gonna kill me.
Yep.
And I'm like, it doesn't look good. That's fair, but hold out hope because Oxford's open for a stab here.
Yeah, and it should be noted that across the rest of the board right now, the Vikings are really becoming like the big bad guy in the north, right? So, especially in my region over here, there is a lot of talk about how someone in the Vikings is likely going to win the game because you and Finland are basically running the whole thing yourselves, right? You'll be able to redistribute SCs just to make sure that you go over the top of anyone anywhere else. And remember that the victory condition for this game is being on the most supply centres at the very end. So seeing that Wessex slash London is working as a Viking, right? There is a lot of encouragement going on from people like Morocco, from France. I think even I'm pretty like anti-Viking vocally at this point, to get the British powers aligned and try and do something about the Viking presence here and the Viking presence coming over the top. which actually then has a knockback effect, and we get talking to Rabat about attacking the Vikings as well. In fact, I think this coming phase is actually the one where Luxembourg officially leaves the Vikings, like declares that they are out, and it's basically because the French powers here are going, the Vikings are the biggest threat in this game. If you are sticking with the Vikings, then we're gonna have a problem, right? So
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he built the fleet, it was clear what was happening.
yeah, but it was also...
What else is he doing with the fleet?
I know Luxembourg posted their perspective on the last video, right? I think they did have a point in that it was kind of forced at gunpoint. We did basically say, you have to leave the Vikings now, otherwise we really have a problem.
Yeah, but then he left the Vikings.
But he did
That's
indeed
like,
also leave the Vikings.
yeah, he was forced to leave the Vikings, and so he left the Vikings. But that's what leaving the Vikings means.
Yeah.
If you want to say you never left the Vikings, then they would have attacked you. Like I don't know. It's
I actually missed out something quite important in the last episode as well, which was, I can't remember exactly what phase it happened on, but at some point Luxembourg, in their attempt to basically make sure that they were good with the Vikings and also with France, they tried to pitch an agreement to... They said to the Vikings, hey Vikings, can we accept Paris and Bordeaux as members? I don't know if that actually got far enough to be relevant to you, or for you to remember it.
No, we considered it. The problem was that Aquitaine was busy trying to coordinate everyone against us.
Yes.
Aquitaine was one of the first people to start saying, "Oh my God, everyone has the coalition, the Vikings," and this was happening like now, and so we were like, we don't. Why would we like? Yeah, Luxembourg is trying to get to join the Vikings, but that's not going to do anything. Like,
yep. It's really just good for Luxembourg, right? It's a reason that Luxembourg can say, hey, I haven't left the... Like, I can say to my French friends, hey, it's fine for me to be in the Vikings because you're in the Vikings too, right? Aquitaine was still quite anti-Viking. I think they basically just rejected the offer. I was obviously like, okay, well, you're inviting the other two French powers to the Viking alliance. I do notice that you're not including me in that. So I was...
You're a one-power miner. Nobody cares about you.
How dare you, I say. But no, at this point, I had been talking to Luxembourg as well, so it was kind of obvious that Luxembourg didn't like me very much, given that I was also at quite a lot of opportunities through this game trying to get people to attack Luxembourg because of the whole...
Every time anyone talked about working with Luxembourg, you would chime in and say, don't trust him, he stabbed me.
Yes, pretty much.
Yep,
so
that's a great way to work with somebody.
He was also trying to get me killed, right?
Yep.
But anyway, he officially left the Vikings at this point, and he also, because if you remember from the last episode, this Nuremberg unit just came in here out of nowhere, right? It came to Hesse. It wasn't anything that had been discussed and wasn't something that Luxembourg was expecting, and now its target is clearly Luxembourg itself, right? So Luxembourg opens the phase by going, hey Paris, you're my ally, right? We're in the French alliance together, please cover Luxembourg for me, because you're the only one who can, right? There is no other unit adjacent to here.
Yeah, man, maybe if he'd built an army, he could cover it himself.
That would have alienated his French friends, and his French friends
Why?
are the best friends.
Whatever. Anyways, look, I think it's ridiculous that you guys didn't want to build an army, but that's okay.
I do not think it's ridiculous at all. I think that
you could just attack the wheel. Anyways,
he wasn't going to attack the wheel. He was still, like, friends with the wheel at this point, right?
Well, he's also friends with you. So say, yeah, I'm gonna kill the wheel because you're allies with you guys. Like,
he's friends with everyone. So
it's totally fine.
He repeatedly tries to negotiate to make sure that Paris is going to Luxembourg, and I think Paris is being like the problem with replacement Paris here really wasn't talking very much. So wasn't giving the kind of assurances that he wanted, but there's not a huge amount he can do about that. He was just hoping that Paris would do that. And meanwhile, Aquitaine is being very, very anti-Viking, trying to rally people against the Vikings, but at the same time, now that Luxembourg has left the Vikings, they are openly quite distrustful of Luxembourg still, But they decide to focus on Rome and basically say, hey, maybe we can work together down here and deal with Genoa, because that's a direction for me to go that isn't into any of my allies. And hopefully we can be friends with the Spanish now that they have just been stabbed by the Moroccans, right? So that's where they were at. Meanwhile, on my side of things, we were talking to the Moroccans about going anti-Viking up here, especially Rabat, since, remember, they've just been stabbed by Morocco as well, and then had decided to keep their northern fleet, and basically say, hey, I'm gonna, I don't care if Morocco wins this game anyway. They can have it. I'm just gonna do my own thing. But when threatened with the prospect of elimination, because Tangier at this point, who is Portugal, was threatening to go into Azores, basically saying, hey, there's a dot here, I would like the dot. They go, no, please, I don't actually want to die. I want to keep playing this game. So we were saying, okay, well, Portugal can leave you alive, right, if you're being helpful. So how about I support you up to the English Channel, you help against the Vikings up here, you help the British kick out London, who is also British, but is a Viking. And then we'll be good on that front. And initially, Rabat agrees to that, and I think Portugal is generally happy with that idea too, although they were like, I would quite like the dot still, but, it makes sense. And then suddenly Rabat starts saying, hey, actually I'm not happy with this, I want to do a forced retreat plan. Because I like the idea of forced retreats, and this is an interesting opportunity for one. So the idea would be that Rabat goes to Azores and bounces Sea of Azores here, right, to make sure that Portugal is not killing him, and then I support a Coruna out into Iberian Current, and Iberian Current then retreats into whatever of Rock or Rise or English Channel is open. Now, if you're looking carefully at this situation, you may notice a problem with this. Which is that if Sea of Azores has bounced Azores here, right, and I support Coruna out, nothing is covering Porto. So Rabat can keep Azores through the bounce and then retreat back into Porto. And that is the Rabat plan. And at this point, I am doing a lot of other stuff. I think this was over the time where we ran the Diplostrats Gauntlet. So I was really quite busy during this phase, so I wasn't looking at the situation properly. I just went, you guys figure this out. I tried to convince him to just go to English Channel, like, straight up, because I would have preferred that, right? It's something that Portugal would clearly have been happier with, and I wanted to keep Portugal happy. But he was pretty refusing, so I just said, okay, well, I'll enter the support of Coruna into Iberian, you guys can figure this out yourself, right? And Portugal spends a very long time arguing over this, and then eventually says, well, I'm just not going to bounce Azores. You can go back to Azores, and then I'll kill you on the next turn if you do that, right? Go to English Channel. And that's kind of where we leave things, because before the moves, because Rabat doesn't really confirm what they're doing. They're still going, okay, yeah, I would still like to bounce Azores with you and then get force retreated. So that's kind of where things end up on that front. Meanwhile, Marrakesh is preparing to convoy over into Gibraltar and attack Spain, right? And Spain is going full throttle in reverse, trying to defend against this, and Portugal is still on Marrakesh's side. So if they take Azores here, they're probably building an army and coming in to attack Spain, which would be a really bad situation for Spain to be in. I think... Oh yeah, there was one other thing here, which was that I basically said to Luxembourg, hey, I think you really need to go to Southern Bight in order for... a move against the Vikings to be effective here. I do not want to see you in English Channel. I want to see Rabat in English Channel, basically. And Luxembourg wasn't entirely happy with that, but again, I think Luxembourg was at that stage of, if I annoy the French here, they are probably going to come for me. So he does end up agreeing.
By the way, how can the French go for him?
Well, Paris is getting a rebuild on the next turn, right? So they are going to be here, right? Um,
Sure.
and
But he's already losing Luxembourg.
well, he's only losing Luxembourg if Paris doesn't bounce Nuremberg out, right?
Paris hasn't confirmed anything,
Paris
right?
hasn't confirmed that. That is true.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's possible that Paris is still doing it and just hasn't been very talkative, you know. You never know. I think he just doesn't want powerful enemies on his border, right?
Well, then he shouldn't have been leading the board.
That is fair. He does have this weird unit in Saxony, right? And my assumption is that this unit in Saxony is going to go to Nuremberg because Nuremberg is going for his center, right? So worst case
Yeah.
scenario, you then just swap centers with them. That's not actually what it ends up doing, but he doesn't confirm to anyone what it's going to end up doing. So it's going to be interesting to see that on move reveals. Is there anything else you want to talk about here? I wasn't really paying much attention to the negotiation going on over here, so I can't really go into detail on that. Unfortunately. But maybe Ezio was looking at this stuff?
The HPE have a lot of discussions about Constantinople potentially stabbing here. Because Constantinople, you'll see, is in Wallachia and Constantinople. The Wallachia move was arranged, but hey, Constantinople's in Dagestan and might be holding that center.
That's not
Is in
Constantinople, that's Georgia.
that's not. Oh,
But they
cool.
have
Well,
these
they're in
two
Wallachia
here.
and Constantinople. Can still make a move. Sorry, I thought it was a way bigger threat actually, but no, those colors too similar. Sorry, no, it was just they were very concerned about Constantinople stabbing here. And to appease them, Constantinople agreed to move out of Wallachia. I'm
Right.
pretty sure.
Okay.
Notably, Kiev is one of the people who was from Alberta. So
We haven't
when
even discussed that yet. I think.
I think whatever we might not have mentioned it, but Finland mentioned to Archangelsk that at some point that he was from Alberta, the Canadian province that nobody's from. And then they were like, "Oh my God, me too!" And then also Kiev was, and this came out much earlier in the game. And there have been a couple of times that Finland has dripped the idea of an alliance between the three of them, dubbed the Berta Bros. And um, especially now that the Eastern West Vikings are like splitting, and he's saying he wants to focus on the East Vikings and not the West. Like the alliance hasn't officially split here, but you can feel it creaking. And with him talking about these alliances, it's a big deal. And I don't know if they explicitly say like, "Hey, Kiev, you can if you go big and stab the HBE, then you'll be vertebros," or if they're just like, "Hey, think about it. Maybe we could do something cool." And they leave it at that. I'm not. I forget the exact way that that negotiation went down, but Kiev is the person that Archangelsk and Finland have specifically targeted for stabbing the HBE and then working with, letting him
Yeah.
know that a stab is viable.
I did want to, like, I don't remember whether it was this phase or earlier, but I do remember that Finland, like, posted some pictures of some sports team jumper. I don't know what sports team. I assume it's hockey because it's Canada and that's the sport that they have there, right?
Yeah.
But he posted that and said something along the lines of, "Hey guys, I'll burn these if you join my alliance." So I assume it must be a rival team to whatever Kiev and Archangel sports. I don't know if he ever burned those. I want to see the evidence of that. Finland, if you're watching this, please show the evidence. But yeah, he was offering to burn those jerseys, or jumpers, or whatever they were, in order to get these people on his side.
Yeah, but like making promises that people keep, that people don't keep is part of diplomacy.
I
Also, one
still
of the
want to see
things,
the evidence. That's too real not to be kept.
I guess. So, also other things to talk about as far as the HBE and the potential stab. Um, Bakhchisaray is going to be vacant based on the negotiations that happen this phase. Bakhchisaray is currently slated to take Georgia from slash cover Georgia, so it's going to get supported in there from Dagestan. So just
Yep.
tactically, it works out so that way it's safe here. and I think Azerbaijan is getting tapped and Circassia is getting attacked and supported in. I think it works out that I forget exactly who's taking Circassia versus Astrakhan, but either way, it's
I think, if I recall correctly, it's that Moscow, who is here in Astrakhan, is going into Circassia with Don support, and then this Archangelisk unit is coming down. I might be mistaken on that. And then
yeah,
this
that
player
seems like the
here is
natural option.
this player here is currently, well, is the player for Circassia, amusingly. But yeah, they are going this way into Georgia to make sure that they get 2 supply centers and Georgia has 2 supply centers.
Or if they don't take Georgia, they at least bounce the Golden Horde out.
Yes, the HB are very focused on eliminating the Golden Horde, and as you can see, they're pretty successful. Like,
Yeah.
that they have been doing very, very well on that front.
With Viking support.
Yes, with
we
Viking
might add.
support.
Yeah.
Shall we move ahead to moves?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, so these are the moves on that phase, and as you'll notice, the thing that we were just talking about here, Kiev does stab. So they go into Bakyasaray, take that one. They walk into Constantinople, take that. And Constantinople, not wanting to be seen as, you know, a potential stabber, walks out of Wallachia into Transylvania. And suddenly there's a giant Kiev on their border, with them having one supply center.
Yeah, they're in really bad shape.
Ouch. And the HB has this massive internal threat now to contend with. Thankfully for them, they have dealt with the external threat. The Golden Horde is now dead. I was actually wrong. They did this the other way around. Don went into Circassia. But yeah, Dagestan gets taken by Georgia, so Golden Horde is out of centers. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. So other things that happen. So you'll see Oslo and Skagerrak don't do anything. They just hold this phase with
these
me.
also, yeah.
Right, my units, they just, it
you
feels so bad.
You tap Bergen,
Yeah.
apparently, just to make sure Bergen isn't doing anything.
Make sure he doesn't do anything, right? Like, I mean, even still, he has to take Bergen. If he moves out of Bergen, he loses it. But, like, I'd rather have it than let Wessex keep it. So, yeah, there is that. Cool.
Spitsbergen does make it into Iceland Basin, and Oslo does go into Greenland Sea behind it.
Yes. Now, the thing about Iceland Basin is that Spitsbergen's negotiated with the people of Britain to say, hey, I'm going to take Edinburgh next year, and I'll take it, and then that was the deal that he made. And it was like, okay, sure, go for it. That's great. You'll get an Edinburgh. Okay, sure. You could have also just tapped Reykjavik to force them to not do this sort of move. And once you see Edinburgh offer to support them into Plymouth, maybe you should have changed the orders, but I don't know. There's a lot to make guesses. It was a red flag, but he could still technically make a stab on them. It's fine. Cool. So now in the other part of the Vikings, though, we have
which bit?
a
like
weird,
here?
like the part of the Commonwealth.
So, Finland does take Wilno, and you
wasn't-
try and convoy this to the wrong place? What happened here? This was just
That
you
doesn't
misremembering,
look
I
right.
guess.
Well, the convoy, maybe I was off by a turn. And we were trying to just tap Gdansk, and I wanted to. There was probably a 50-50 thing going on where I could either tap Gdansk. Yeah, I was off by a turn. I hadn't proposed the convoy to Courland here. I wanted to wait a turn.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that's me misremembering.
That's completely fine. There was so much that happened in this game, honestly, it's really hard to remember all of it. Like, prior to the recordings here, I've been reading up on a lot of the stuff that happened to me, right? And all of the negotiations and whatnot. Even then, I barely get through any of it, because there's so much. But also, Ezio is having to basically wake up and go straight into this commentary, so he doesn't have the chance to do that.
Well, also, I have to remember for fucking a billion moves every turn. Whereas
true.
you're just sitting there in Nantes doing check.
I think the font changed on this turn. Like, why are all of the
I think this was done by a different
Oh, I
GM.
see.
I think
Okay.
this is one of the phases that Flare didn't adjudicate himself.
Gotcha. They did have a GM team, which I think is very reasonable for a game as big as this.
Yeah.
The first GM might not be there all the time. But yeah, Commonwealth basically manages to hold in place, and interestingly,
Yes.
Wallachia is now against you, right?
Oh, that's
Or is
okay.
this...
So no, there were tactics to this phase. So
Mhm.
I have a position here where we can do guesses. So if I have an option with Courland to support Warsaw into Prussia, or to have Courland tap Prussia myself. If I tap Prussia myself and they support Prussia into Warsaw, then I end up in Prussia, and I'm +1, and Finland is -1. I'm still trying to stay balanced and even with Finland to make this alliance work. Man, why do I do these sorts of things and try to make allies, man? Why don't I just stab them? Like,
uh,
anyways, you'll see my regrets later, guys. But for now, look, I could have just taken Prussia. I could have not supported Warsaw into Prussia. I could have just taken Prussia myself, and then Warsaw retreats. I'm in Prussia. I could have also taken Bergen. I would be +2 this year because I'm still losing Wilno, but I could build in Stockholm and Narva, and then I could just kill him. And then I'd win,
This is
right?
the thing, right? I think in hindsight, it's always easier to say those kind of things. When you're in the moment there, it's like, do I really want to become the massive threat right now? And the answer is usually no. Especially in a
Uh,
chaos game where, like, if you do that, you're going to be focused by everyone, right?
well, yeah, but if I can just kill them, it's fine. Like, my position is
Hmm.
good enough where with Bergen, Oslo, Stockholm, and Gothenburg, that's a core of 4 that's really hard to mess with if I just fight people.
Yeah.
Um, and then Umeå and Helsingfors are still reasonable centers for me to have and fight for. And like my fleet's in the Baltic Sea still. If I build in Narva, then I can take Helsingfors guaranteed before anybody else can get there, and then I'll have enough power on Umeå and Trondheim probably. Like I am strong enough. If I go for the win right here, right now, I think I just beat everyone. One of the things that I is important that I'm gonna need to say to excuse my terrible play here because I think this is terrible play. I'm on a plane this
Oh,
phase.
wait, are you
I am
actually on the
flying
plane
out
this
to
time?
Stockholm.
I think you were
Yes.
going to be on a plane, wasn't it? And then you got your plane got cancelled because
Shush.
of that.
I was on a plane in this
Oh, okay,
phase.
sure.
You make excuses. No, I was trying to get on a plane. My flight got canceled. It was a big pain in the ass, but I was not nearly 100% focused on this.
Hmm.
Um,
I do remember
and
you
so
basically you told me in DMs because we were talking about a Diplo Strats recording that was happening at some point. Because we were doing the Gauntlet recording, I think the day before you were flying out, which was
yeah, the gauntlet happened the
insane.
day before I flew out.
Um,
So
but you basically I reached out to say hey have a good flight and you reached out to say my flight's been cancelled but you didn't mention that in the public chat so all
I
these
did
people
not.
were still trying to like basically saying oh Ezio's on a plane so we don't like we can't talk to him and you got the day off pretty much.
It was beautiful, but
um
no, it was. I think this is just me misevaluating the position after I go for the win. And I think I can win if I just do it.
I
Um,
don't know whether that's true. Like, I think everyone would have ganked you. Like, even I know Utrecht is basically not uh like aggro towards you at the moment because they've been part of the Vikings and you helped save them and whatnot. I don't think that extends to if you stab people, they will not attack you still.
I
Um,
think they hate Luxembourg more than they hate me.
yeah, but they're not within range of Luxembourg, really, right? Not at this point.
Yeah, but if they try to coordinate with everyone to kill me, then nobody kills Luxembourg.
Well, the French might. You never know.
No,
Uh,
you're allies with the French.
Well, we are currently allied with Luxembourg. That is
Yeah.
true.
So I don't know. It's possible. It's obviously an incredibly different game. If I say, all right, I'm just gonna go max aggro threat level Ezio, just try to win.
Hmm.
But I don't do that. I try to manage the threat level and not be the biggest person on the board and not stab allies.
Hmm.
Um, I regret it. I think I should have done it. I think it would have been good. I think it would have at least made for a better video for damn sure than the last couple of years on this one,
I don't
which
know. I
see what
think this
happens.
will make for a pretty good video, regardless.
Yeah. For those who enjoy watching Ezio suffer. Yes.
That is me. I enjoy watching you suffer.
Mm,
The
mm,
well, you've been watching me suffer for the rest of this game, so
yeah, fine.
shall I discuss what's happening in my region then?
Well, we should look at the GBA first real quick,
Oh
where
yeah,
we see that, in fact, Edinburgh did stab and did support um,
Ireland
Ireland
into
into
Plymouth.
Plymouth,
Yep.
which
So
is a brutal stab. And I also really dislike how Wessex handled this position. I think Wessex should have support held York here, or support held Oxford here, which would have left the opportunity open for Edinburgh to stab and retake Edinburgh.
mhm.
Um, because by trying to tap Edinburgh themselves, right, York is going to fall no matter what here if you don't support it, because York and
You
Wales are
mean
going to coordinate on it,
what?
right, or Oxford.
Oxford? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
I
so
can't see
you need
what this is.
yeah, so I think you need to support hold Oxford because that's giving you a center either way.
Hmm.
Um, and this way you actually give Edinburgh a reason to stab.
To stab
Like
you,
if you
yeah.
to stab the other, well, to stab their alliance, right? Like to not stab you,
Oh,
whatever, right? To
sorry.
take
You
Edinburgh.
mean by support
Yes.
holding Oxford, you're giving
By
Edinburgh the
support
reason to go
holding,
there?
you give
Yeah.
them a stab, yeah. But if you cover it, then if they try to stab, then you've just bounced them out and you've defeated yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I really don't like this tactical setup, but either way, it didn't really matter here because Edinburgh didn't stab, so all right, but you want to give yourself those outs.
Hmm.
Um,
So
yeah,
Wessex ends up with London and Edinburgh here. Oxford gets back into just having Oxford, and Ireland goes +1 by gaining Plymouth and still having Reykjavik.
yep,
Yeah. So as you can see down here, Luxembourg has indeed moved into the Bight. They also managed to get Amsterdam out, which makes me sad. I would really have liked to see that get bounced by something, but there was nothing really that was going to bounce it. Right? I don't like the fact that the army is mobilized. I would have loved to see Luxembourg basically trapped in this region. So what's going on elsewhere? Well, over here, I do support Coruna into Iberian Current. Portugal sees that Rabat is demanding this bounce in Azores, and they basically go, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go over and help Morocco." I think they were helping Marrakesh here, and I'm going to let you go back into Azores, and then I'm going to come and kill you later because you're not actually helping us, right? And Rabat just goes, "Oh well, as I'm going to be." I think he's like Portugal publicly said that they weren't going to bounce Azores, right? So Rabat just goes, "Oh, okay, I'll just go into Porto," and they do that, and they get the stab and they get the build, and this makes Portugal very sad. It also, I think, makes Marrakesh extremely sad because Portugal was going to build an army to come in to support them here, right? And now they're on their own. They've got the army convoyed up into Gibraltar, so they did manage to take it, but it's kind of difficult for them to make progress because all of these Spanish units have now come back, right? And something else super important that's just happened here. Remember that Bordeaux, like Aquitaine, was making plans with the wheel to come after Rome. They do not do that. They attack Paris instead. They go into Dijon. And something kind of important that happened at the end of the phase here that I just glossed over, I think I missed. Strasbourg and Nuremberg at some point started chatting about the possibility of killing Paris, right? Because they were because Paris wasn't talking pretty much at all, right? And so they started chatting that with Luxembourg. I think Luxembourg went and said, "Hey, Aquitaine, should we do this? Should we just go in and cut Paris from here?" And Aquitaine said no, and then went for it anyway, right? As their own thing, because clearly they want to make the gains here. So the moment this happened, Luxembourg was screaming bloody murder, saying, "Hey, Aquitaine is a stabber," But we'll get onto that on the next turn. The results of what negotiations were happening here. Meanwhile, poor Wilno dies because Luxembourg chooses to go into Prague instead of Nuremberg, which surprised me. And the wheel is looking in very good shape now, right? Because Freiburg gains 1 here, Vienna gains 2, and they help their friend from the HBE, Sarajevo, into Vienna. So really,
Yes, Vienna only let nets 1, but the point is their rivals lose 1,000,000,000 centers this turn.
yes, and like the Italians are in complete chaos here. The Papal State just dies, I think. I think we got a comment on the last video saying the Papal State was actually part of the fish religion, which I thought it was a separate thing, but they were in the fish religion, which means I guess the papacy for the fish religion was never on the table anyway. But you'll know everyone is collaborating to kill them here, and poor old Rome is like the last one standing. Oh no, Sicily is still alive as well in Sardinia, so 2 Italians left. Yeah. Oh, this is kind of important too. These guys managed to coordinate to take Tripoli. I think there was like an arranged bounce happening in Tripoli or something, and Berbers just decided to support this instead as like a peace offering to Tunis and to get them off one center. And this worked, and suddenly Cairo is a bit sad because they've gone down from 3 to 2. Alright. Is there anything else you want to talk about move-wise here?
No, I don't think we have to talk about... Yeah, we can talk about now what the ramifications of these moves are.
Okay, let's go to the, well, retreats first. The retreats don't matter all that much on this board, I think. We do have... Wessex doesn't go to the English Channel, which I was thinking might be a possibility. They might just go here to mess around, try and escape, basically, from the English mainland. But they don't. Paris takes Dijon off, but they're going to get a rebuild in Paris. Now, this taking Dijon off, the GMs, I think, confirmed that this was an NMR'd build. So, sorry, an NMR'd retreat, like a retreat that they didn't enter. So we were all like looking at this and going, hang on, are they going to build? Like, is it just going to be an empty Paris? But they do come back to build here. So then we end up on the clean map. This is going into builds right now, right? I don't know if you want to talk about your builds first.
So I don't have a build this phase.
Oh.
Notably.
Oh, yeah.
I did a good job at managing that, so I'm still on 4, nice and tied, which I think is still the leading score on the board at the moment.
No,
or unless Marrakesh is...
Luxembourg has 5, because they took
great.
Prague.
Yeah, because they didn't lose Lux, yeah, so they're at 5, and Marrakesh is on 4 or 5. And I think they renamed to Morocco here.
4, but yeah, I think they have renamed to Morocco at this point. This is why I've been slipping back and forth between calling them Marrakesh and Morocco.
Yeah, I remember them as Marrakesh, because they were Marrakesh for a while, but Morocco is their name, still try to use that. But yes, so with this stab from Kiev onto the HBE, with Arkhangelsk building going up to 3, with Finland building going up to 4, they officially do form vertebros. They say, yeah, this is going to be us. And that's pretty scary for me. I don't, like, I want to still work with Finland, and Finland's like, yeah, I want to still work with you, but I don't want to deal with the rest of the Vikings. So we're doing our own thing. Vertebros, let's go. Technically, they hold off on this for a phase because Kiev is trying to lie to the HBE to say, hey, I'm going to totally waive one of my builds and let you guys not kill me and stuff. And I don't want to work. I don't want to kill you guys. But I do like this Vertebros idea. And so they like technically put a hold on it for a turn, but like it's obvious. Like this is Vertebros, full Berta. So
yeah, it should be noted that Finland, I think, outright posts saying I am officially leaving the Vikings or something along those lines to join the Berza Bros, but I'm still working with the Vikings, right?
It's not like working with me specifically.
Yeah, he's not like being in 2 alliances here. He is outright leaving his original alliance to form the new one.
Yes, but he's still open to working with the Vikings because it makes sense. Because hey, look, we can still eat the Commonwealth.
Yeah,
like it could still happen. We're in Brandenburg, Prussia and Crack. Like these centers can finally actually collapse here.
Yeah. Can we talk about how incredible it is that the Commonwealth is still alive?
I don't think, I mean, it's a little incredible, but it's just that we don't actually have enough units.
But they are kind of surrounded. They've got. In fact, I don't think Rostock was original Commonwealth, right? But they have
Yeah,
probably been inducted to the Commonwealth at this point.
yeah, at this point, because they're trying to stay alive. And they're
Yes.
on 3 centers and doing their best to not die.
So yeah,
I don't know.
unfortunately, one of the Commonwealth members, as we'll know, they have just been killed. But
Yeah,
Krakow,
and King of Prussia also
Rostock.
officially died here.
Yeah, I don't think he counts as Commonwealth at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, up to you. I
He was
agree.
very much Viking first, right? It's an
Well, after
interesting
they tried
story
to kill him,
with what happened there, right? Because they did kind of kick him out of the alliance, and then the Viking retaliation came in, right? And now they're
yeah,
the ones on the back foot. But they did manage to kill a Viking, which I think is something that I'm not sure
few
any other
players
power has
can
managed to
claim.
do except Ireland.
Ireland killed a Viking by stabbing when they were on 1 dot, yes.
Yes. And of course, in fact, have any other Vikings died? Because Oslo isn't
Well,
dead,
I
right?
killed Helsingfors, but we don't have to worry about
Oh
that.
yeah, of course. You have the title of Viking Killer Supreme right now.
I've only killed one.
Yeah, but that's joint. That's tied for the
Yeah,
most Vikings
yeah,
killed
but
of
it's not
anyone in this
supreme
game.
if I'm tied
Okay.
for first 3 ways.
Sure. We'll see how that goes going forward.
I could have killed so many more Vikings this game than I have. Let's, like, come on.
Okay, so I don't remember whether this is happening in the build phase or whether it happens in the main phase. I think it's primarily during the diplomacy phase. But Luxembourg at some point starts basically supporting an attack against France.
Aquitaine,
Yes,
yeah, because Aquitaine stabbed.
because Aquitaine stabbed Paris. So, first thing Aquitaine says to me is basically, hey, Paris wasn't talking. Are we still good here? Like, it's kind of fair that I stabbed them, right? And I go, yeah, that's completely fine by me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
of course
still
it's
your
fine by
ally.
you, because
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
Aquitaine did would have been fine by you.
Yes. I mean, I was like looking at this and going, okay, well, Aquitaine is looking for centers. That's good to know. I certainly trust them less now, but I obviously don't say that because I need to stay in Aquitaine's good books. Like, Aquitaine is the power with the most ability to kill me here, so I'm kind of happy just being their friend. And also, if I'm their friend, maybe they leave Bordeaux open on a turn where I can snipe it. That is also something that had occurred to me. I don't think I would have gone for it, even if I'd known that they were going into Dijon here, because, like, in this situation, it feels. Actually, maybe I would, because I know that they would have been alienating themselves from other people by making the stab. But it still feels kind of risky to have a fleet here and then a new build up here and have an enemy with 2 units on Bordeaux putting it in, right? So I kind of need them to move more this way. But I am still eyeing up Bordeaux and looking for that opportunity to attack them. But Luxembourg is going, okay, well, Strasbourg, Nuremberg, you guys were talking about attacking France on the last turn, right? It's something that you were pretty happy to be doing. How about we do that? And I think it's actually really important to know whether this was before or after builds, because I think we were trying to pressure Luxembourg not to build Army Luxembourg again, which I can't remember if it succeeded. Do you mind if
Well,
we
if
just
he's
go
trying to
ahead
kill
through-
Aquitaine, yeah, we can go to see builds, that's
Okay,
fine.
because I can't remember if. Oh, right, okay, so the main push to kill Aquitaine happens after this, right? Because we basically forced Luxembourg into building that fleet.
Oh, sure.
This is, like, in order to
Um,
appease us. I
are you sure that's what happened here? I think what happened here was we agreed to coalition Luxembourg.
Yes, but that happens in the diplomacy phase, right?
You sure he doesn't build this in retaliation to me not letting him into the Vikings again? Because I think that's what happens here.
Huh. Maybe
I think
that
he
is.
asks to be let back into the Vikings and builds because he's like, hey, I actually want to kill Aquitaine now, and I'm on a board leader and I'm threatened. And he's like, well, he's like, hey, I never really left the Vikings, and we're like, I mean, you did.
Okay,
So
let's talk about that for a moment then.
yeah,
Regardless of this build, I don't know whether this build was in response or like beforehand, but Luxembourg goes and says, "Hey, Aquitaine has stabbed basically here. We need to get the wheel together and kill them, right?" And suddenly we're like, okay, well, Luxembourg, you are officially no longer French. We are going to try and kill you in response, right? And we also go like, hey, okay, people, is anyone willing to help us against this Luxembourg threat? And Luxembourg, in response to that, asks the entire Viking alliance to say, hey, guys, we're Viking strong, right? I've got this stabber on my border, and like I was forced at gunpoint to leave you guys by these people I am now very angry at, right? The French. I want a coalition against them. Can we all unite and come down this way? And I can get like Wessex's support, and we can go all in alongside the wheel and kill the French. And this causes quite the reaction, right? Because Utrecht comes in and basically says, hey, you're not a Viking. And remember, Utrecht has a bit of a grudge against Luxembourg, the same as I do, because Luxembourg forced them out of their homeland in the first place, right? They've managed to stabilize, but if they were anywhere near Luxembourg, they would be very, very happy to just go back in and kill them. So they were like, well, how about we join with France instead? How about we just kill them, right? And I think that's where your point of view comes in, because suddenly this is a Viking issue. This is something that the Vikings are heavily focused on. Do we work with Luxembourg?
yeah. Do we let Luxembourg back in the alliance or not?
Mm-hmm.
And I just you can't claim to leave an alliance and then say you never left the alliance. That's not how leaving alliances works.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Luxembourg was claiming they'd never left the Vikings. They always worked with the Vikings, and they were trying to work with the Vikings. And I disagree, and that's fine. And you're entitled to your own opinion, Luxembourg. It is okay. But I disagree that you wait. I disagree. Period. So that's fine. Um, Worth noting, Luxembourg was on my shit list. Um,
For
I did not
what?
like the Luxembourg player. I hated the way that he played. I thought he was annoying. I wanted him dead.
That
Yeah.
so generally you thinking someone that is annoying is because they're calling you out for being a C.take player. Right?
I mean,
Has that
sometimes, but
happened?
I don't even. I mean, Luxembourg was doing that some of that for sure, but it was more just I absolutely detested the way that he handled the early alliance with you. Right? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm gonna work with you guys, and then you guys do the thing that I want, and then I'm gonna flip on you guys, and then claim it's out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I
That's the
think.
move that he made, and then he did the exact same move with the Vikings. Right? He joins the Vikings, and rather than like trying to make the alliance works, at a little bit of pushback from you guys, from the French, he just folds completely and says, "Great, I'm not going to work with my previous alliance anymore. I'm going to go work with you guys instead." And that's a reasonable thing to do, but it's annoying. And then to claim that it's out of his hands when I don't think he was tactically hosed if he just built Army Luxembourg, to
Mm-hmm.
be clear. I think he could totally have done well. The wheel was in chaos. He could have worked with you guys against the wheel, or with the wheel against you guys. He was not cooked. He was still safe because all of the Vikings were to the north. So he only had one front to worry about, and he was the strongest nation on that border. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he needed to leave the Vikings and appease you guys at all, but he chose to do that because he met resistance. That's fine. It's a very reasonable play. But to go and claim that it's out of your hand while stabbing another alliance again, and then claiming you never stabbed the alliance rubs me the wrong way.
So I think Luxembourg ended up on a lot of people's bad lists, basically because of the way, not so much because of the way they were leaving alliances. Obviously, that put him on my bad list. The fact that he
Yeah,
left
but
us and
leaving
then
alliances
attacked
is
us,
fine. Finland shows
but
how to leave an alliance and not piss everyone off in the alliance.
but importantly, he was trying to be part of every alliance at the same time, all of the time, right? And that works out really well for him on dots because he can then choose the alliance that gains him the most and work with them. He doesn't have to commit before he's seen what will gain him the most. But at the same time, over the course of the game, this is then turning those people who he's claimed to be in alliance with and then left the alliance with against him, like, over time. And other people are seeing this and seeing, hey, Luxembourg has been in a lot of alliances that he's not super committed to, right? And that he's willing to leave. And they're looking at that with a raised eyebrow and going, okay, well, I don't think Luxembourg is going to be all that trustworthy. And this culminates in this phase, basically, what is happening with Ezio. So Ezio was mentioning that there's this big debate in the Vikings over whether Luxembourg truly left or not, whether they are officially a Viking and whether the Vikings should be willing to support
to be clear,
them.
it is not a debate whether or not he left the Vikings. The Vikings agreed that he left the Vikings. Okay, Luxembourg argued he didn't, and as Luxembourg was not a Viking, it was the rest of the Vikings saying no. The debate was, should we let him back in, and is it beneficial for us to work with him? Because even though he's annoying, he still has a lot of units, and he still is in a reasonable position. And Utrecht is saying, hey, no, let's not do that. Let's let Gothenburg attack him. I'll coordinate units to attack him. He's over in Prague now, so that's a really exposed center that we can attack. And I'm like, I guess, but it's going to be a pain. Can you sweeten the deal for me, Utrecht? And Utrecht was like, yeah, I'll give you Copenhagen.
Yeah, so there is actually a little bit more lead up to that, because this was the main thing I read over in preparation for this, was basically the trial of Luxembourg, because it was the huge thing that happens over this time, right? Because Luxembourg has been working with a lot of people, they were also working with the wheel, and they've never stabbed the wheel, right? But Freiburg also at this point starts going, well, Nuremberg first off says, oh, well, Luxembourg is somewhere I want to go to anyway, so I would quite like to be there. I don't really, I might be able to continue going this way afterwards, but I want to take this. Freiburg is then looking at this situation going, well, Prague is within our grasp. We can potentially kick Luxembourg out of this and out of our alliance and gain something out of it, right? And if we then run up to here, we can potentially gain even more. So Freiburg, who is the leader of the Wheel Alliance, is considering attacking Luxembourg at Aquitaine's request, basically, after Luxembourg tried to get the Vikings on board with attacking Aquitaine. And this is a huge trigger point for, a massive conversation that involves everyone in this region, and that goes on for a very, very long time, right? Over, is there going to be some kind of joint coalition against Luxembourg? Luxembourg is obviously arguing against this for the entire time. If so, who gets what? How do we attack? And constantly during this conversation, people are going, well, if we attack Luxembourg, if a group of people are attacking Luxembourg, we shouldn't be attacking Luxembourg, because then the other people gain more. And that frustrated me so much. It was what you were saying. That was primarily you.
Well, that was me. But then once I get Copenhagen right, I'm in. We're attacking Luxembourg.
Yeah, so this is what happens, right? So the Vikings, at some point, when the Wheel start expressing interest in attacking Luxembourg together, and it's looking like there's a solid coalition, you go, oh, well, actually, I think it's in our best interest not to kill Luxembourg, because then these guys gain far too much out of it. I'm like, God damn it, I really want to see this coalition against Luxembourg work, right?
Yeah.
And I think at some point during this conversation, I was like, this feels like the trial of Littlefinger, because Luxembourg has been double dealing so much with various people, and these people are kind of getting together to actually make him face consequences. But also, all of these people are going, well, he might be useful to me, and so it might not actually happen. And you were the main person who did that. And you actually backed the Vikings off of this. You even said to Utrecht, hey, let's go and do something else, right? And Utrecht allows that basically on the condition that the Vikings don't actively support Luxembourg. That they just basically go, okay, well, whatever happens to Luxembourg happens. We're not going to back them up, but we won't.
He's cooked, right? He's clearly cooked. If Strasbourg, Nuremberg, Paris, Aquitaine all kill him, he's dead.
The problem is that when the Vikings back out, the Wheel also starts going, well, this is going to be slower than we expected. Maybe we should be working with Luxembourg instead, right? And
Yes.
I don't know if that was the moment that caused you to do it, but I remember seeing, like, I was feeling like, oh, I really want to see this work. But now that Ezio has backed off and the wheel are potentially backing off, this isn't going to work. And I see you type this message going, hey, Utrecht, can I have Copenhagen if we kill Luxembourg? And I'm like,
Yep.
yes! Ezio's greed has done it.
I mean, I see a thought. I'm so real talk. At this point in the game, if we look at the center count that we expect to need to win the game, I think I'm gonna need 7 or 8 centers to win the game.
Yeah, because of this primarily, right?
Because of this primarily, and that it's looking like a 7 or 8 centers is what I'm gonna need to win. And so I'm like, all right, look, I'm already at 4. Bergen is going to be mine when I want it. That's 5. Copenhagen is 6. I'm going to trade Umia for Narva to be on 6. And so if I get Gdansk and or Prussia, that gets me to 7 and or 8, maybe? I think that's 8 centers. I think I can win the game like that. So I can get to win the game without stabbing anyone else from here. So easy. Right? I can like play a game where I really don't do much stabbing.
The least Ezio game in existence.
What?
The least
what was
Ezio
that?
game ever.
The least Ezio game.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if this is the least Ezio game ever. Anyways, look, point is, this is what I look at, and I do this calculation for myself and say, I think I can win this game, and that's fine. And hey, look, Luxembourg is winning this game, and I don't like him very much, so let's kill him. Let's make this happen. I can 2 birds with 1 stone. And I can juice the deal with Copenhagen. Wonderful, let's go. And Copenhagen is important, right? Because I need to get to those centers. And then look, if I need to get more centers, and I'm in Copenhagen, and I need to get to 9, well, maybe Kiel or Rostock gets taken.
Yep.
Who knows?
And Utrecht, on seeing, basically, he has the go-ahead to go against, or they have the go-ahead to go against Luxembourg if they do this. And
to get Gothenburg also to go against Luxembourg. Because I think that Fleitenwad is what a lot of people were seeing as like really useful against Luxembourg.
Yes. And seeing that, like, Utrecht is really happy to be able to impact this and basically take down the person who took our alliance out, right? Who forced us out of our homes. They go, yeah, absolutely. And then you send a message to all the Vikings saying, all right, we're back on board. We're gonna attack Luxembourg.
Yep.
And then...
It's very straightforward, because Luxembourg wasn't going to die, and the wheel made it very clear that what they were doing was they're not going to attack if we don't attack. And so, like, all right, we're going to attack. And so then Freiburg's like, I don't know, though.
Yes.
Freiburg keeps dragging his feet, and it's like, interesting. So it's totally just an act, in my opinion. I think Freiburg was always going to hit Luxembourg in this way. And part of this is that Luxembourg has also made deals in an attempt to dissuade the coalition. He has agreed to give Luxembourg the center to Nuremberg, and he's agreed to give Prague to Freiburg.
Yep.
So his best case is already going down to 3 centers after like we get things locked in. And it's just the question is, how hard do Freiburg and Aquitaine want to go? Because Nuremberg's already getting centers. And here Aquitaine's like, yo, I'm not really going to attack you anymore. Aquitaine starts backing out of this a little bit. And it's an annoying way to be like, all right, so now the Vikings are in, but now the Wheel and Aquitaine are both not in, and the Vikings left holding the bag. Again, I don't really care. I'm taking Copenhagen, right?
This is like, I think this is the really crucial moment, right, where we are still in this stage where various people are saying that they're backing out of the coalition, and therefore, because all of these people have said, we're going to back out of the coalition now that the Vikings are part of it, the Vikings should technically back out too, but because you're getting Copenhagen, right, as a result of this, Utrecht is, like, really happy about the idea of Luxembourg dying anyway, and Gothenburg is kind of okay to do whatever the Vikings want them to do right now.
Yeah.
This doesn't result in the Vikings backing out of the coalition, and so over the course of the build phase, these guys are able to just keep their, they're able to keep the impression that they're not going to attack Luxembourg anymore. So I think that you're correct, that is why the fleet goes down up here. And of course, as soon as the build phase is through, then Aquitaine is starting to talk about attacking Luxembourg again.
Yes, Aquitaine pushes, after the build comes in, Aquitaine pushes Freiburg really hard to say, we need to go and kill Luxembourg. And Luxembourg's like, oh my god, you lied to me! How dare you get me to build a fleet instead of an army and then try to kill me now that I can't defend myself? And it's like, justice.
Oh, and something I also should be talking about here that I'd completely forgotten to talk about, the GBA.
The GBA joining in?
Yeah. This is the thing that unites the GBA.
I didn't remember if they joined until after builds. I don't remember the exact timing of when they joined in.
I think they do talk about it here. Basically, the idea of coalitioning Luxembourg is what finally gets these players on the same page, to the point that they even say they're willing to leave London alive if London helps them attack down here. They'll still take Edinburgh off London because they've offered that to Spitsbergen. But London will be part of the official alliance if London makes that move.
And London is okay with surviving. And so London's like, all right, great, sure. And again, I can't really save London at this point because Edinburgh is stabbed and Spitsbergen is accepting support into Edinburgh. So it's like, all right, I guess the Western Vikings have all stabbed the Vikings now, right? Because Edinburgh joined the Vikings, stabbed the Vikings, and then Spitsbergen subbed in, stabbed the Vikings immediately. Oslo, the first Oslo subbed in, stabbed the Vikings. The second Oslo subbed in and was going to die if they stabbed the Vikings. So that didn't happen. So, okay, they're at least sticking around. So the Vikings currently are 3 for 4 on subs and stabs.
So Oslo, I think I remember it's either on this phase or on the next phase, you basically outright tell Oslo, I'm gonna take Bergen, right? Is
nope.
No?
It's later. It's later. I don't tell him I'm gonna take Bergen.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get there in a second. It's okay. But yes. So I tell Bergen though, if you keep the army, I will kill you. I do say that.
Yep. And so they take the army off here.
So they take the army off, they keep the fleet.
But the situation going into the next phase then, after builds, is that everyone here has agreed to coalition Luxembourg. Like, every single person around them. So if we then go to the clean map here, the only person who hasn't is Paris, because they're not really talking to anyone.
Well,
right?
I mean, Nuremberg and Freiburg haven't agreed to coalition him. They're just accepting the centers that Luxembourg is offering them.
Yes, so Luxembourg
which is how they can keep this neutrality.
Offered Luxembourg itself to Nuremberg and, of course, Prague to Freiburg. So they're basically saying, hey, yeah, we're going to do this. But yeah, that's pretty much everyone else around them has agreed to attack Luxembourg together. And
this includes sending Utrecht via Bremen, was one of the keys for this attack. Bremen was going into Munster, Wadensee was supporting that, but Rostock was going into Bremen. Part of this, Utrecht pushing hard against Luxembourg, meant that we weren't going to hit the Commonwealth anymore. Brandenburg wasn't going to make that attack anymore. So, Commonwealth sneaks out again.
Yes, and of course your friend over here has left your alliance to the Bersabros, so it's kind of difficult to...
Yes, so he still wants to work with me against the Commonwealth specifically, and so this is the phase where I'm happy to get Utrecht out of here, because I'm confident we're going to clean up the Commonwealth, just us. And so I say, hey, Finland, please support yourself into Courland. I'll convoy you into Courland from Helsingfors. You can move Umeå into Helsingfors. I'm going to move Oslo into Stockholm, and then in the fall, you can have Helsingfors take Narva, and Stockholm takes Umeå.
Yep.
And then our borders will be clean. I'll be in Umeå, you'll be in Narva, and then your convoy will have worked, so you can coordinate against Prussia, and you can make however attacks you want to make that work. I can cut Gdansk, and you can support yourself in, or support Holden, whatever you want. So that was the pitch that I made here, and I thought that it's going to work. But I think this is the phase, though, that I'm actually on a plane to Sweden, this convoy.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is 2 days later, right?
And
so
you told me that you wanted to, like, you told me post-game that you wanted to form Sweden while you were in Sweden, right? That's, like, your big goal. But you gotta take Umeå to do that.
I've gotta take Umeå at some point to make that happen, and I don't want to, like, hard commit to doing that, because I I think I can win this game without stabbing. I think I think I've got Copenhagen on lock. I think Umia and Narva are going to be clean, and Prussia and Gdansk are probably going to be mine, but maybe not Prussia, and I probably don't need both. I think seven's good enough, and like we'll see, right? I think things are looking great. So yes,
Yes.
I'm feeling good.
So, discussions over here, basically it's all about tactics of how to defeat Luxembourg. I don't really remember the specifics over here, except that Nuremberg is going to Luxembourg and that Aquitaine wanted to go in and try and kill Paris, right? So they're going to try and do that. And then the discussions with the GBA are basically, hey, can you come in and help us in some way? Best way to do that, we decided, would be a bit of a meme. We'd cause the Normandy landings. We would have Oxford's army come down to Plymouth, and Plymouth go into the English Channel, and then we would try and get Oxford's army either into Ghent or into Normandy to help us out. So that is what they're gonna try and do in the coming turns. And, like, it's surprisingly solid, the group, in terms of none of them are really discussing attacking one another, which is super unusual for this group of players. And even London is kind of just on board and happy to be back in the alliance.
Dead.
Yeah. So that's what's going on over there. Over here, I think Marrakesh is like trying to negotiate because he realizes now that I don't have the Portugal army here, there isn't much chance of me pushing in here, so he's trying to negotiate a truce with the Spanish here, and I think that truce involves giving Gibraltar back. I don't remember the exact reasoning behind that. And meanwhile, the Portugal player has subbed out for another Portugal. I think that was this last build phase. And the new Portugal has decided to make the point of this game to be posting anti-Rabat propaganda for the entire thing. Basically, they came in with the knowledge, hey, the previous Portugal got stabbed by Rabat, and they make these, like, wonderful propaganda posters for the entire thing about how Rabat needs to be eliminated and the rabbits are, like, a plague on society and whatnot. It was just fantastic. Meanwhile, Rabat is just kind of memeing and saying, hey, I'm still okay to help Marrakesh, like Morocco, do their thing. I'm going to help them into Canaries in the long run. And they even say, hey, I think I'm going to send my rabbit on a like field trip. And so they would be going here, which is like the least useful province on the map. There is no way this is ever occupied in a standard game, I think, of this kind of map, just because it's only really useful if you're trying to surround Azores, and if you need to surround Azores that badly, like, you've probably already got
really
control
tough
of
to
that
come up with
region.
an excuse to be in Cape Verde Basin.
Yeah, but it's gonna be occupied in this game because Rabat felt like going there.
Yep.
That's pretty much all the negotiations that were happening over here. Oh, importantly, I was told, hey, you should go to Normandy to get like, to focus Luxembourg. And in the same way that everyone else was kind of, like, being slightly on edge about going for Luxembourg because of their own self-interest, I'm, like, looking at this and going, well, I'm not going to be the person getting Ghent, because we've already agreed that I think that would be Oxford. Do I really want to be out of Nantes in that situation? And also, I've just seen Aquitaine stab Paris hard, right? Do I really want to leave this open for them to potentially walk in behind? So I agree to go to Normandy, and then I enter a hold. Because in fact, I might, like, enter a support for Ireland into English Channel or something like that. It's
Yeah,
effectively
unnecessary
a hold.
support, right?
Yeah.
Because London's already supporting the move, so it's...
Yeah. It's effectively a hold, because I don't really trust Aquitaine, and I don't want to leave this centre. And I certainly don't want to leave the centre into Normandy, which for a fleet is like a horrible province. It's the equivalent of Picardy in the standard diplomacy game. You don't want to send a fleet to Picardy because it's not very mobile there. Sure, you're adjacent to Belgium/Ghent, but that's only useful if you're the one getting supported in. There's much better places for a fleet to be, and one of them is holding the only region that's keeping me alive.
Yep.
I think that's basically everything on my side of things. Do you want to talk about what's going on negotiation-wise here?
So I talked about the tactics that I talked about with Utrecht backing out of attacking the Commonwealth here. Part of this was we were trying to get Krakow to move into Silesia, to help take Prague. But like after Freiburg gets it, it's like unclear. Should be fine. I was looking into giving Prague to somebody other than Freiburg because Freiburg wasn't committing to attack Luxembourg next year. It was a like, all right, well maybe we can give it to someone who does want to attack Luxembourg next year. But that didn't happen because Sarajevo wants to work with Freiburg still. So
Yep.
it's like, okay, that's fine. No biggie. The main thing, obviously, in the east is the Berta Bros now, right?
Yep.
They're a monster, right? You can zoom out and see just how big they are, right? There's only three of them, and they're on 11 centers. And they're pretty well coordinated to take some stuff. They're not perfectly coordinated. Like I think Bakhchisaray makes more sense as a center held by Arkhangelsk instead of by Kiev, but and Moldovia probably would have made sense to do things. Whatever, it's fine. The big annoyance for them is so Ostrakhan also isn't a Berta Bro, but here I think feels that they're gonna die if they just stab Arkhangelsk immediately. Um, and so here Moscow in Ostrakhan is like, I want to survive. What do you want me to do? And then they come up with some negotiation where I think Ostrakhan ends up in Circassia, and Arkhangelsk doesn't. Is that the case? I forget exactly what negotiation. But Moscow is working with Arkhangelsk here, and the HBE in the southeast is like, oh my god, we need to survive here with only a few units with our fleet here in Sea of Azov, Aleppo, and Dagestan. That's tough. And then they look at the tactics and see that like Constantinople is they can potentially retake it, but like that's only in the fall because it's only 3-on-3 right now, and so like, oh my god, how do we actually fight against this army? And so there's a bunch of consternation in the east about that. Wallachia in Kiev, I think realizes that oh my god, things are bad, and realizes that he can't survive against the Bertapros on his own. He's going to join the only group that's shown any resistance to the Vikings and Finland all game in the Commonwealth. And he's like, hey, let me in Warsaw.
Yep. I think
it's
it's
like, oh,
doubly
okay.
important because remember Constantinople had this fleet here and also an army in Transylvania, and they take off the army in Transylvania because it just doesn't have enough support to hold Moldavia, right? I think this was the correct move. You want to keep the fleet down here because this is like your stalemate line against a majorly army power. They can't come into the Black Sea very easily, right? They need to build some fleets to get down there. So this is the area where you're most likely to hold centers. But by doing this, they have completely screwed over Wallachia because that was the only other unit that was able to help them. And Wallachia just goes, okay, army, evacuating up north. Please, Commonwealth, help. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And so I forget the exact tactics about what they decided to agree to. I think it's another one of those phases where the Commonwealth leave all their orders off and then put something in the last couple minutes of the phase.
Yep.
Um, cool.
I
So,
do want to show off this is the Berta Bros flag. I think it's something to do with Alberta, but I don't know what. I assume maybe this is a flag of Alberta or something.
yeah, and Finland doesn't put it in this phase,
Yeah,
which leads to some consternation by his Berta Bro buddies.
because
But
they all agreed to have this as their emblem, and then Finland just didn't. But I think he does it on the next phase, right?
we pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look. There are a couple of other things that I do want to point out on the emblem front. Tunis has had this as their emblem for a very long time. It's an upside down elm fire, so it's the tree from that the elm chat is named after. Elm fire was when that chat went into like a million messages a minute mode, and this was like the icon for that. There was one other one, yeah. So these have changed. They were originally Rabat banners, right? Now they're Bumble banners. This is the profile picture of Bumble, the Helsingfors player who died to Ezio's stab at the very start. And there is another Bumble icon on the map, which is just Bumble here. Rostock has put Bumble in their flag. I think the Luxembourg player very soon will decide to change their windmills to make them more visually distinct from the from the competing windmills of Utrecht. But outside of that, that's kind of all the ones that I wanted to have a look at. So, are we done with this phase then? Shall we move to the moves?
Yeah, I think we can see how well the coalition actually does.
Okay, so yeah, let's focus on the Luxembourg area first. You will note Luxembourg tries to bounce me in Normandy, because I said I was going to Normandy, and I do not bounce that because I did not want any possibility of actually leaving Nantes. So I support Ireland into English Channel instead, and you'll note all of these moves are exactly what was agreed. Wessex has gone here, and Spitsbergen has gone into Edinburgh, with London just basically letting that happen. There wasn't much they could do about it anyway. Over here, Paris kind of Aquitaine kind of fails to make progress against Paris and moves in. This was not agreed. Just slips into Strasbourg with Dijon. We all thought they were just going to support themselves into Orleans, but they decide not to. They go this way and just stab the player who... It should be noted Strasbourg is not siding with Luxembourg right now. They are on side with Freiburg, who admittedly the wheel is not being clear on whether it's going to stab Luxembourg in the long run, but Strasbourg is kind of willing to go after Luxembourg after all of that time of being on their side, and immediately gets stabbed in the back for it by this Aquitaine player. Meanwhile, Freiburg getting into position to take Prague, right? And Utrecht is indeed rotating out this way. And I notice your fleet is doing something interesting here.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I don't want to know what else in the North Sea. It's the North Sea, man. It borders like a bunch of places. I don't know.
Fair enough. It does leave you in quite a nice spot, I notice.
What else? What else is like the North Sea? Does anything? Yeah, I don't know. The North Sea's a great place.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want anyone else contesting me for Bergen because I wanted the option to take Bergen in the fall if I decide I want to take Bergen.
Yep.
So.
And note that Oslo is moving to Rockall Rise. Was that on your instruction, or was that just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a long way away from their supply center.
Yep.
Yep. And I guess this was an arranged bounce over here?
No, it was not.
Oh.
I asked Trondheim to move into Jämtland because Finland has left the alliance. I want more leverage, essentially. I think that, right, Arkhangelsk, I'm worried about Finland attacking us because Arkhangelsk is, not the location of Arkhangelsk, but the player Arkhangelsk is siding very closely with Finland here and is not going to hit him ever, and doesn't seem to want to send all of his army south for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
What could that reason possibly be, CaptainMeme? You tell me. It's because he wants to attack the Vikings. And so I'm like, we need to have units in position to attack it. But because I tell Trondheim to do it, obviously Finland can see it. And rather than stick to our agreement with supporting himself into Courland with Umietta Helsingfors, he decides to do this instead. And this is a red alert in my mind. Because this is not working with me. Right? This is not coordinating against the Commonwealth. Right? Yeah, but he didn't support it.
Yeah.
So it didn't go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never going to go through because I have to post everything in all chat ahead of time so they can react.
Yes.
So this was a really bad sign to me because Arkhangelsk moves into Kola, I think, and Smolensk. Right? What's he doing in Smolensk? Right? What's he doing in Kola? Is Kola it's going to attack the Viking in Arkhangelsk? And Arkhangelsk was the center that was given to Trondheim originally, but okay, sure, that's not great. And then Smolensk, what on earth is that Not trying to help with Poltavia, not staying south. Oh, it's trying to get Narva again, as has been his goal for the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all right, sure, whatever, dude, fine, have at it. Notably, I think he probably should have done Kursk to Novgorod and Novgorod to Pskov, and that would have been a much more effective way of annoying me.
Hmm.
Um, like
Or
this is a
even if
time
he
where,
wants to take Archangels, then Kursk to Novgorod and Novgorod to Kola works fine too.
yeah,
Uh,
guarantees it. Yeah, but whatever. Smolensk is in the west and stuff. But this move from Finland is it's not a hard stab, but it telegraphs a stab to me. I
mhm,
don't feel good about working with Finland anymore, but I still want to make it happen because I still perhaps naively think we can beat the Commonwealth in the final 2 years of the game and get a couple of centers and make it work.
mhm.
Um, so I'm like, whatever. And then it's like his moves were just kind of bad. They didn't make me feel like they're inefficient for sure, but like him support holding Warsaw doesn't really do anything. It's like,
Well,
what's the point of
it
that?
would have kept Warsaw if Wallachia wasn't attacking
Yeah,
it,
but
right?
like Wallachia was attacking. I thought
But
maybe he was more kicked out
you
of the
said it was
game.
a last minute arrangement, right? Maybe Finland wasn't
Well, I
online.
think Wallachia talked to them about it earlier, and then they came in late. But it's fine either way.
Okay.
The move didn't seem like a great move to me, but whatever. It didn't seem like it was like he didn't take any of my centers this phase. But the fact that he's in Helsingfors and Umeå means that it's a rough position
Hmm.
because like he can take Narva from me, and I have to deal with Umeå, and I like I'm not taking Umeå for certain anymore. Whereas it used to be he would only have one unit in Helsingfors, and so if he takes Narva, I take Umeå, and if he doesn't take and if he bounces me out of Umeå, then he doesn't take Narva, so we're neutral either way. Now he can potentially stab me for a dot.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that ain't great. He has to retreat out of Warsaw. That's annoying, and we'll like deal with the ramifications of that later.
Hmm.
But that's like this move is not what we agreed upon, and it was, yeah,
It was a scary prospect. Meanwhile,
yes,
in the south, the HPE are actually doing a good job of countering the Bersa Bros here. They get into Constantinople, right? And he, like, Kiev focuses Moldavia, which I think it's fine to solidify your core like that, but it does mean that he's losing Constantinople.
I think trying to get Sarajevo was the tactic here.
So
Because
moving.
there's a bunch of fleets in Constantinople and Athens. Sarajevo is actually undefended here.
Hmm.
So like Wallachia to Banat and then let Constantinople retreat to Wallachia
But
would have been
Wallachia
really brutal.
isn't adjacent to Sarajevo, right? So you'd still only have one on
True, you're
here.
right. It doesn't actually work. You only have one. Okay, never mind. Yeah, yeah, never
Yeah.
mind. I don't look at the tactics down here enough. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
interestingly, like Georgia is supporting Astrakhan to Circassia, right? So these
Yep.
guys are working together, but it's also clear HBE prefers Moscow to have it to Archangels having it.
Yes.
um,
And here's the fun, like in this spring, you see Astrakhan could have just walked into Moscow. Well, Moscow, the person in Astrakhan could have just walked into Moscow, and because Archangels walked away from it completely, it was a guaranteed capture and would have been fine. And we noticed this, but it's okay.
it
He's in Circassia
it
instead.
actually would have taken Archangels down to just one in Novgorod if they'd done that, because Georgia would have made it. Like Circassia's unit
Well,
here would have made it into Circassia.
yeah, this is only spring, right?
Oh
So
right, yeah, of course.
so there would have been stuff to happen still, but yeah.
Yeah, my I'm getting too far ahead of myself. And Cairo and Tunis have agreed to start working together after Tunis took Tripoli on the last turn. In like because Morocco and Spain are making like this agreement to work together after taking Gibraltar off. So these guys are looking at that and going, all right, well, I guess we need to move together this way now. Tunis still being like the neutral buffer between all of these different factions over here. And I think here, Corsica is still a Viking, right? They're still your auditor, but
Absolutely.
suddenly they're under significant threat with these Cairo units coming up next to them. Uh, yeah. So, shall we move to clean map?
Yeah, I think those are all the moves that happened. Yeah.
Oh, also, I think Morocco gives Canaries a chance to, like,
Yeah, but the Canaries
survive.
has been holding almost every game. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, they built that army there, right? They give them a chance to survive by convoying them into Regibat, basically saying, hey, I'm gonna take Canaries soon. You need to leave and go to Berbers if you are gonna stay alive. And Canaries just goes,
Yeah, but
nope,
because
I am
Rabat moved
holding.
into the useless territory instead of Canary Base,
Yep.
Canaries isn't actually dead.
This is
But
true.
yeah, whatever.
They get to survive another year at least. So, let's go to clean map here. Well, retreats. Oh, Luxembourg does make it into Wadden because they have all of those fleets, right? Which
Yeah.
complicates the attack a little bit. Especially considering Utrecht is in Bremen.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where this retreats to. I guess I should just find out, or...
I believe, is it on this retreat?
It's
I forget the
certainly
exact
near
timing.
here,
Let's,
yeah.
yeah, let's let Gothenburg.
So they go into Jutland. Is this the moment where they sub out?
I think they subbed out in the retreat phase, honestly. I think this retreat was made by the new Gothenburg. Because the previous Gothenburg player subbed out. I don't know if they weren't submitting orders or they just asked for a sub or whatever. But we have a new Gothenburg player that subs out. And this new Gothenburg player subs in, maybe this was in moves. It might have even been in moves last year. I think it was in move. No. It was definitely in. It was in moves of this phase. Moves of this phase for sure.
Okay, so it was after the retreat.
I'm pretty sure. When his new Gothenburg subs in, and he tells me, "Hey, I don't want to." He comes in and he says me, "Hey, you can't attack the Commonwealth anymore." And I facepalm immediately because I'm just like, what on earth are you talking about? I can't attack the Commonwealth anymore. This is, yeah, no, it's not good. I'm in Sweden. I'm jet lagged as hell. And it's like, what are we doing, man? Like the new sub comes in, and like if I don't attack the Commonwealth, what am I doing? I'm going to war with Finland immediately, because that's the only other person I can, unless I attack other Vikings, right? I'm either stabbing the Vikings or I'm stabbing Finland. Is how I view it. And I like don't want to do that. So what the fuck? Like why is this happening? And I am super tilted. And this is it happens just before a break on the phase. And I believe he does sub in during retreats, and then he retreats into Jutland. And then we have no talking for like 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, because at this point, Flare has implemented mandatory off days because there's so much chat going on and it's, like, impacting people's ability to do other stuff, I guess. So,
yeah, I mean,
he says, you must take a day off and we are not allowing any negotiation during this time, so just everything immediately gets shut down and then we have to wait 24 hours until we continue. You can continue now.
So Gothenburg does this, and I don't think Gothenburg realizes just quite what they're saying with this, but the retreat to Jutland doesn't look like it's like that. Just it's a crazy retreat. It's like the point is it borders Skagerrak and is going to attack me, right? Like because otherwise, why don't you want to be in Kiel? It's a center and it borders 3 other centers as a fleet. It's an amazing place to be, but it stays in Jutland that borders Kiel and Copenhagen only, doesn't border Bremen, and I am like. I remember talking to Utrecht, just saying, hey, how about we just kill Gothenburg after he subbed, and let's stick to the we kill the subs policy. Because the subs just stab us. And Utrecht is like, alright, I mean, sounds good to me. And it's like, what's Gothenburg gonna do? Right?
I do remember watching this, because Gothenburg comes in as the substitute, right? Absolutely pumped to be playing the game, just decides, hey, I'm gonna be a negotiating force, I don't really care about my position here, I'm gonna throw myself full force into the game, right?
Yeah, he saw that Luxembourg asked him not to attack him, he saw that I was like, hey, you should just finish killing Luxembourg, and then Utrecht was saying, hey, you should finish killing Luxembourg, and he was like, oh my god, look at all of the leverage that I have in this position, because everyone wants my help right now. And he's like, I'm gonna use this leverage.
Yes, and then he tries to convince people to attack you, and then I just remember your response being like, how about we kill him? And then he's like, no,
wait a minute. Wait. And then we sub. And then we go to break.
Yep. Oh, that was
And it's
so
like,
good.
oh, dude, these subs, right? So we're now 4 for 5 on subs, subbing in and trying to stab the Vikings,
Mhm.
right? And like, oh my God, dude, it's just so tilting. Because between the subs and we'll see at the end here coming into play shortly. I don't know. It was very tilting, but after retreats, he comes in and we like get to talking, and he's like, yeah, I maybe overestimated my position here. Um, I'm happy to attack Luxembourg with you guys, and Ezio, you totally can still attack the Commonwealth. Absolutely, you do you. Uh, and it was like, yeah, all right. That's what I thought. Like, yeah,
Poor guy,
great.
just
I mean,
immediately intimidated into submission.
like, dude, look at his position, man.
Yep, that is fair enough. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so negotiation-wise over here, I can't remember exactly what's happening with Aquitaine being in Strasbourg. Like, this was not an agreed thing, but I think eventually they managed to talk it out, which I have no idea how they managed to talk this position out, because if you walk into there, like, in a stab, how... I don't know. I was really impressed by Aquitaine's negotiations through these phases, but they agree to basically support Nuremberg into Paris in return for moving Strasbourg out into Luxembourg, and then Strasbourg is free to do something else, which is exactly what they agree to do. They agree to support Oxford's convoy into Ghent here, and they would like me to tap Normandy, and I think they want to get London to tap Southern Bight as well, so that Luxembourg basically doesn't have a possible defense against this. And that's pretty much what's agreed to. Again, Paris is really not doing very much at this point, and so Nuremberg is getting supported through is absolutely fine. I realise I've missed out a really major detail when I'm talking about this, which is Nuremberg's objective at this point of the game. Right? Which comes up during the Luxembourg trial. Basically, Nuremberg is saying, okay, well, I've been migrating over here. Yeah, you guys are attacking Luxembourg. I'm trying to think what my objective for the game will be. And at some point, he goes, I wonder, it would be very funny if I go and tap CaptainMeme's unit in Nantes just so that he has to explain why it happened in the video.
sure.
And I was like, well, please don't do that. That is an extremely annoying thing to do. But Aquitaine just jumps on that and goes, absolutely, I'll help you go through and tap that unit. Obviously not actually take Nantes, but just go through and tap as long as you do what I want you to do, right? And so they come to that agreement. I'm just watching this Nuremberg army come over here knowing, okay, well, it's going to come and attack Nantes, and then I'm going to be... I mean, I'm not going to necessarily be in a bad situation as long as it doesn't get supported, but it does just pin me in place for a meme reason. Why is this happening to me? So, that is what Nuremberg even has decided to do at this point, and it's why he's so happy to just take the support into Paris. It gets him one step closer to tapping my units.
Yeah.
God, the problems of being a diplomacy celebrity, eh? Yeah.
Celebrities really strong for Captain Meme.
If we
Either
didn't
way,
have the YouTube channel, I would not have to worry about being tapped by Nuremberg in this situation. But no, he's making the holy pilgrimage.
yeah, if we didn't have the YouTube video, people wouldn't be saying, "Oh my God, Ezio's gonna stab everyone every phase." When I've seriously been one of the most trustworthy allies in the game. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
I've made so many sacrifices to my own growth throughout this game to benefit my allies. I've made so many of them. At least one.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least one.
And that Helsingfors thing was completely a misunderstanding, right? Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Look. It wasn't completely a misunderstanding. I told him to bounce. He didn't bounce. That's it, right? Look. No need to look more into it. It's fine. Anyways, again, nobody's gonna play a game of diplomacy and get the 4 centers and be truly trustworthy, right? Nobody's gonna do that.
Chaos
It's
diplomacy, yeah,
just
yeah. I mean,
so yeah, chaos diplomacy.
in
Yes.
normal diplomacy, people are sometimes
In normal
trustworthy when they have
diplomacy,
4 supplies.
yes. In normal diplomacy, you can get the 4 SCs and be
uh,
totally trustworthy. That's fair. But like,
unless you're Ezio.
what I've managed to get to 4 supply centers in a normal game of diplomacy without stabbing anyone. I'm sure
Alright,
of it.
fair enough.
But yes,
Yes, I've completely forgotten what else we were talking about here. Nuremberg is doing their thing of coming to tap Nantes,
yep.
and I'm really sad about it. But like,
And I was commiserating with you about being a diplomacy celebrity
yes,
in this
which
world.
is what.
Yes, because I'm such a celebrity.
So I'm gonna have to tap Normandy here to just. Well, this is my part in the anti-coalition, anti-Lux coalition, and I'm very happy to see the anti-Lux coalition succeed, right? I don't know if strategically I should necessarily be wanting it, because it is like a giant threat, or Luxembourg was
What do you
a
mean
giant.
strategically? This is so we reached a point in the game, by the way, where we're 3 years away from the end of the game. We're 2.5 years now,
So,
and so like
I'm
we've
not
reached
gonna
the point
win.
where people realize they can't win,
Yes.
and so now it's what do you try to get from the game? And this is a much bigger conversation next phase. So actually, do you want to just go to that?
Yeah, sure. To the moves, or
Yeah, to the moves. Yeah. And so we can start talking about like the end game of what this looks like.
Mhm.
Oh, I should have talked about what I was doing. But anyways, it's fine. So yeah, this is the thing. So you might look at this and say, "Oh my God, Ezio stabbing his ally. How surprising." But you'll notice that this is a counter stab. This is not a real stab, because we've agreed that he's not taking Narva is a thing that happened because of the fact that he's still in Umeå, and I don't want to do the Narva Umeå swap this phase. He said he's not going to take Narva this turn, so I'm like, all right, fine, go for it. And I moved to Courland. I moved Courland into Gulf of Gdansk as well. So what this means is that if he does take Narva like this, I walk into Helsingfors. He can bounce with Umeå, but um, tactically, it is much more committal for me to use Baltic Sea to tap Helsingfors than it is for me to simply tap Umeå with Stockholm, because Stockholm doesn't have much useful things to do, whereas Baltic Sea has lots. It borders 2 centers, and I was offered support into Brandenburg and could do other things. And so for me to use Baltic Sea to take Helsingfors, it's more committal than for me just to use Stockholm to tap Umeå. So great, that's fine. I decided I was gonna tap both of them so that if something crazy happened with Umeå, like if he moved into Jämtland, that's fine. I thought almost always Umeå was gonna tap Stockholm here, so that's a thing. And then I move into Helsingfors, so he goes for a dot with Narva and he doesn't take it. If he didn't go for the dot on Narva, though, I would have been in Baltic Sea and Gulf of Gdansk, and Finland could have been in Courland and Warsaw, or like whatever. Finland could have been in a solid position still to make progress against the Commonwealth. In my dream, of course, I convoy Helsingfors into Courland while going for this, and then it's fine, and Wilno supports that again, and we end up in the same position, and things are good. But whatever. This is still an okay workable position, where if Finland doesn't stab me, we still make progress on the Commonwealth in the final 2 years, we get there. But instead, Finland stabs me, and I end up in Helsingfors, and that's okay. Another important thing that happens in this phase is that Trondheim stabs me, and as well as lots of other stuff. But we'll do me first right now. So Trondheim dots me in Oslo, and this is fun because we've started talking about throws and giving people the game, and like saying who do we want to see win and where do we see ourselves in these games and sort of stuff. And Trondheim says, yeah, I want to see Ezio in the game. He's been great to me. He's been good. We've been working out, and like I want him to win. And I'm like, oh God, don't say
that. Yeah.
Oh, for the love of God.
That is a very good way to make people target you.
Yes. Yeah. It's really bad. To say that you want somebody else to win the game. But like, I believe it. Like, Trondheim has shown 0 initiative in anything in this game. And through the work that we've done, we've helped him out a little bit. He's going to be on 2 centers still because he got this fleet in Barents and it's going to go to take Spitsbergen, and even if he loses Arkhangelsk, it's fine. But like, it's been good. I've been trying to work with him, and he says it's fine. And I say I would love to see him stab me here because it's such a clean, elegant. I want to see him win the game. I'm gonna take your dot. Ah, wonderful. The problem is I can't really cover Oslo because of my expectation that Umeå is tapping Stockholm. I think it's far more likely that Umeå attacks Stockholm than that Trondheim attacks Oslo. And if I move Stockholm to Oslo to cover this, then Umeå ends up in Stockholm after I move out of it, and I look like the biggest dumbass ever. Um, this is part of why I should have just taken Bergen last year. You see, I took Bergen this year, but it took me a unit to do it. And I could have just walked into Bergen in the spring and then bounced myself in Oslo, and then I would have been fine, right? That would have been wonderful.
Yep.
Right? Just go for the self bounce. But I wanted to be in the North Sea. I don't know. It's the
Mhm.
furthest west I got all game. Maybe I could border CaptainMeme at the end and complete bingo card for some people. But whatever. It was I don't know. So I'm in Bergen, I can't self bounce, so I just go with it, and I make a counter stab here in Courland, well, and with Helsingfors, and I end up in Helsingfors, but I don't fully commit to the bit. I don't move Courland into the Baltic Sea, so my position is not really set up for a war with Finland. And Trondheim stabs me, and Finland stabs me, and also Utrecht stabs Gothenburg.
Yep, tries to get into Kiel here, but Gothenburg is getting Lux support back into Bremen.
Yes, I don't think that was agreed. I remember there was talks about Kiel and Luxembourg and Gothenburg and doing stuff. I want to reiterate, I am on vacation in Sweden with my family. The amount that I pay attention to this game drops significantly right around here. Um, I still follow the game, but I can't be nearly as active because I don't have my computer. I am only sending messages off of my phone. And I can't send the normal wall text. I can't send tons of messages because my typing speed, etc. So I'm very sad about all this. So I don't really care what Gothenburg is doing anymore. I see Luxembourg is collapsing, and I'm gonna get Copenhagen next year. This will be fine. Great, everything's okay. Utrecht stabs Gothenburg here, and Trondheim stabs me, and Finland stabs me.
Yep.
And I don't position myself to fight against any of them really. So I am feeling fuck.
I do love that. I think whenever anyone was questioning what the hell happened in the Vikings this turn, everyone's first response was Ezio stabbed Finland.
Well, people did acknowledge that Finland also stabbed me, but it was a mutual stab, is what they were saying.
Yeah.
This is Ezio stabbed Finland and Finland stabbed
Fitzio.
Ezio, and it's Ezio, yeah. It's no, I mean, this is just Finland stabbing me, and I made moves that if Finland stabbed me, he doesn't at least get a crushing position on me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But if he didn't stab me, we're still in great shape. Hella tilting, it's fine. I'm such a celebrity. It's okay, whatever.
Yeah. You will notice down here that what was it? Oh, this is where I remember you basically said to Oslo, who has Bergen and is in Rock or Rise, "Hey, I'm taking Bergen." At some point during that phase, right?
So he asked me what to do on this phase, and I want to tell him get a dot from the GBA.
Yeah, go for.
But
Dublin,
I can't say that.
Or Plymouth.
Right? Dublin, Plymouth, because Plymouth is getting convoyed. Something. Right? I want to tell him get a dot from the GBA, but I'm working with the GBA, so I can't tell him to take a dot from the GBA. So I say good luck. Right? Which I don't know. It's not that sneaky. It's saying get a dot.
It
I
is
don't know.
basically
Get
saying,
lucky.
I'm gonna kill you here if you
No,
don't
it's
take
not.
a dot elsewhere, right?
I don't agree with that at all.
Nope. Okay. Well, I do remember that he blew up at you
He
and then
interpreted it that way for
himself,
damn sure.
renamed himself to I Hate Ezio or something along those lines.
Ezio hater, yeah. Uh-huh.
So I guess he will have been quite happy to see this this move right here.
Yeah.
And the stab on you. But yeah, sadly, Oslo is
He
no more
doesn't
after this.
look at the board and realize that Plymouth is open for him to take, I guess.
Yeah, or just doesn't want
Whatever.
to attack Ireland. I don't know.
I guess, because Ireland was the original Ezio hater.
Yeah, can I
not
point
quite.
out here
No,
how bold
North
this
is.
move is from Ireland? Just going, hey, I'm gonna convoy you out of my supply center, just let you into Plymouth and then convoy you back out. It is similar
Yeah, I mean,
to
once
what I
you've
did
given up
earlier
on
in
winning the game, right?
I had to be
Once you've
vassalized to do it.
Yeah, once you've given up on winning, you can do all sorts of memes for the fun of it, right?
Kind of, yeah.
So, yeah, it was plenty of opportunities for stuff, so it's less interesting than seeing risky plays from a position of like I can win the game still.
It should
I'm
be
gonna
nice. I
make
think
pretty
most
aggressive
people who
plays.
aren't on one supply center still have a shot at winning.
I think theoretically, yes, if you're on 2 supply centers, you could get to 4 and then 8,
Yes.
but
It's kind of difficult.
it's really, really hard to do that sort of thing. Like 3 centers is really the minimum you need to be on, and like you want to be on 4,
Yeah.
really.
Notably, like,
but 3 centers
Freiburg
works.
here goes up from 2 to 4, which is
Yeah.
excellent on their part.
Yeah.
Which I think actually puts them tied for the board lead after this turn.
After all of the stabs, yeah.
Yeah.
Aquitaine's on 4, Freiburg's on 4, I'm on 4, Finland's on
Aquitaine's
4.
on 3, I think. Oh no, they are on 4. Sorry,
they're on
they have
3
Marseille.
plus Luxembourg.
Sorry, yeah, so you are correct.
Yeah, so they're on 4. I think Morocco goes down to 4 here.
Yeah,
No,
they take as
they stay on 4, but they got Gibraltar, yeah. So they're still on 4. Kiev is on, I think, 3 now? Because they lost Constantinople. Moldova. Yeah, they're on 4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Arkhangelsk would be on 4, but they got stabbed by Moscow here.
Did they agree to just take Astrakhan off Moscow?
They asked. Yes, they were like, "Hey, let me take Astrakhan." And Moscow was like, "Sure," and then bounced them. Like,
well, good on Moscow for doing that. I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am curious what happened here because it looks like Kiev
so
is
there was
fighting-
an agreement to let Kiev retake Kiev, get back to their home center. But then near the end of the phase, the Commonwealth was like, "Hey, Finland, do you want to take Kiev instead?" And then Finland was like, "Yes, fine, let's do that." This also makes me realize that Finland is not gonna fight the Commonwealth, because if you want to take Kiev, you don't want to leave Podolia if you're attacking the Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided that he didn't want to do that. Like, right, he wanted Kiev more than he wanted the position against the Commonwealth, and so it's like, okay, great, we're gonna fight. And like, maybe I should have gone for a more aggressive stab against him, like, honestly, with all of the signs. Like, yeah, maybe I should have tapped Wilno here to not let him be the one to take Kiev, to let Wallachia keep it, and let Wallachia build in Kiev, and let them be useful.
Because he had the extra support from... he had 3 supports on this against
Sure. Yeah, okay. So, whatever. But maybe I was supposed to tap Wilno anyways, in case something happened. And maybe, I was supposed to go to Riga instead of Gulf of Gdansk or Baltic Sea. Like, I probably should have committed harder to stabbing Finland, because I was pretty confident about this. But I didn't, because I wanted to keep an edge, and I was trying to not do that. So I didn't. But yes, so there's all that chaos going on. So, like, 4 set is really where you want to be to try to win the game. You still can win if you're below 4 from here, but it is obviously really tough.
Yes.
And now we're getting into the last, I think, 2 years of the game.
Yeah. So shall we... Are there any more moves to talk about here? Oh, I guess your auditor dies. And we all say this is, like, symbolic of the Vikings completely falling apart and all stabbing each other. Their auditor gets knocked off
all
the
stabbing
board.
each other is putting it really broadly. They all stabbed me. And Utrecht stabbed Gothenburg.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the Vikings stabbed me. And here's where the timing came in. Because we've only got 2 years left in the game, these Vikings realized that, like, this is the time to play for a win if they're trying to get a win. And I thought they were going to stick together for another year. I, thought we could win this game without going for these stabs. But because they expected me to stab them, if given the opportunity, they thought they had to make the jump on me. And since time is running out, if I'm going to make a move, it's going to be soon, so they wanted to get the jump. Mm-hmm. And that was partially what Finland was thinking, partially the Berta Bro stuff. But mostly it was like, hey, I expect Ezio to stab me before the end of this game, so I need to make the move to not let that happen. And it's a reasonable play. And with the end date, it happened. I am confident, based on what I've heard from Finland and from what people are talking about, if there wasn't an end date, these stabs don't happen. I'm confident we continue just chugging along and growing slowly and methodically, keeping our corner of the board, or our northern half of the board, just on lock, and then we can continue chugging. But it's a time game. I should have played better, because knowing that there's a time game, but that didn't happen.
Like, time game is always going to present slightly different incentives, right?
More than slightly different incentives.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like I should have played around it, but I didn't. And I was thinking people could stick together more. And so I didn't defend appropriately, and so I got annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean annihilated. I'm still on 4. To be clear.
Yeah.
I gained Bergen, lost Oslo, gained Helsingfors, lost Narva, but my position is so scattered, right? I don't have 2 units that are next to each other, right?
Go from Gdansk, Helsingfors, Stockholm, and Bergen. Yeah, that is
Yes.
that is quite
Not
the position
good.
to be in.
Yes. So it's not good, but whatever. We'll see. Like, there's still a chance. I can like force the centers is what you need to win the game. Like, you can still win the game from 4 centers.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the tension, everyone stabs me. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to go well. But like if Utrecht works with me, if Trondheim, like I talk to Trondheim and I'm like, yo, good stab, wonderfully done. I love it. Let's be
Let's
great.
still work
Uh,
together, right?
I'm happy to work with you. I don't need to kill you, right? We're fine. Like, look, okay, you took Oslo. Well done. That's power to you, man. Wonderful. And he's like, all right, I want to form Norway. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess you can take Bergen at some point. Ugh. That's making it harder to win the game because I'm losing Bergen at some point. But we'll see how things go.
Yeah,
But that's future stuff.
at this point, you've just got to
Other moves.
negotiate to get people on side, right? And offering
Yep.
Bergen in the future is, yeah, it's not necessarily even something you have to stick to, but it's a good thing to say right now.
Yeah, it's kind of necessary to say because if Finland and Trondheim both attack me, it's going to be really brutal.
Yep.
Also, yeah, so we can. I have more to talk about
Sure.
immediately after these moves.
I will look quickly at other moves
Yeah.
then here. Notably, Smyrna also goes up to 3, so they're kind of competitive for the win as well. But they are
Yeah.
in the HBE still, and the HBE are very much like our win, like our objective in this game is going to be as a faction. Like we're going to determine that together. So they're putting themselves in contention, but I think the primary thing that was being talked about was, are we going to basically throw to someone here, or are we going to all make sure that we end up on an even kind of condition?
Yes, because this is what I'm thinking. Like at this point in the game is when throws become everything that is talked about for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what's going on down here. Burbas is just trying to gain Tripoli in case, I guess, Tunis goes to Cairo or something. But there is some real fear that Morocco is going to end up as a very strong player towards the end, because Rabat is offering to throw to them, right? And I think Portugal is also basically saying, hey, if you help me kill Rabat, I'll be happy, and we can end the game with you taking stuff. So people are expecting Morocco to get like Azores, Canaries, and probably both of the Portuguese provinces by the end of the game here. So they feel like the one to beat. At least that was the impression I was getting here.
Yeah. Like they are huge and are probably going to be big, and then the the Berta Bros between Finland and Kiev can get somebody to be huge, and if Finland and I decide to throw to one or the other of us, we can still be huge. Or if we can just get our shit together, but it's tough to get our shit together and grow without us throwing at this point.
Yep.
So it's like those are the big players, and then like Freiburg and Aquitaine both being on 4 are also still like, oh yeah, they're in huge contention to win here because they're big.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Aquitaine, and I'm like, I really hope they don't look at Nantes as their next stop, because like they're very clearly just happy to take whatever they can get right here. They did actually stick to the agreement here. They could have, of course, have supported Dijon up to Luxembourg, but they thought that, hey, getting someone I'm working with in Paris is better for me, which I think was great. They also mentioned after the game they were constantly worried about me going to Bordeaux, which I was eyeing up Bordeaux and going,
Yep.
when can I get this, right? But they don't. They're not giving me the opportunity here.
Yep.
They are well aware of that possibility. Shall we go ahead to the clean map?
Sure. Yeah, I mean we can just start talking about
Yeah.
basically at this point in the game, everyone's talking about throwing. And who is gonna win the game by throws. And it's like, all right, so Finland doesn't want to see people throw. And so he threatens to throw to me. And he's saying, if I see anybody else throw this game, I am going to throw to Ezio. And nobody wants to see Ezio win, but I'll throw to him if you guys throw to each other. And that's a big threat. And it helps slow down the conversations about throwing. People are like less willing to do it because Finland has mostly stayed to his word. And like, look, if Finland or I like, I think we both respect each other's games this point because we've been spending this whole time thinking about how am I going to stab him, how is he going to stab me, like trying to keep each other balanced this whole time and done a great job with this. So like, both of us would be okay with the other person winning. I'm pissed at him because he just stabbed me. But like we can talk this out and we can get to a place where things are gonna be okay. And like if he doesn't throw to me, I'm not gonna win. That's fine. That's whatever. Okay, acceptable.
Hmm.
Um, and so this quiets down the talks of throwing, but Freiburg, we notice, has Strasbourg as his vassal, who's done everything Freiburg wants for the entire game. Um, Aquitaine's been stabbing people, and Nuremberg is clearly not trying to win the game by just walking around in Paris is doing absolute nonsense. Luxembourg at this point has said his entire game is to make me lose, because Luxembourg blames me exclusively for his demise.
Hmm.
Um, Not anyone else, just me. I love it. And then Utrecht also tells me that they're going to kill me because they don't want to give me Copenhagen. And I'm like, what?
I do
Okay.
right after this Gothenburg stab between the Utrecht and Gothenburg, I think they made up like immediately, right?
Immediately.
Yeah, Utrecht
Not at
just
all,
goes,
no issues.
Just goes, oh, I tried to stab you. It's water under the bridge, right? I'm gonna go for Ezio.
And
You are,
Gothenburg's like, yeah, why do I care?
You're the great
And I'm like,
uniting factor.
so they both try to kill me now. And I'm like, oh my god, every single Viking agreed to kill me.
Except Trondheim, right? I think they were.
Well, Trondheim just took to my center.
Well, yes,
and wants
but...
to take another center from me. Hasn't agreed to kill me, yes. Here, actually, they're like, yeah, I'll work with you now, it's fine. So Finland and Trondheim, the two people who stabbed me last turn, are like, alright, fine, we can make peace, I guess, and be okay. And then the two other Vikings remaining who didn't stab me last turn are gonna stab me this turn. And it's like, alright. Yeah, I can't, how am I gonna win this game? It's all over, it's fine. Rip. Whatever. Maybe I can at least form Sweden while I'm in Sweden. Maybe I can actually make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you zoom in on Stockholm real close, you can actually like
you can see
the little bit of that lake around it. Yeah, you can see me on there. It's a little bit. There's Anyway, so that's where I was. Maybe I can at least form Sweden while I'm in there. But like, I don't know. I'm not gonna just go ham on stuff. Maybe I should just try to take Umia here or whatever. But like, I don't know. Maybe we could just swap Helsingfors and Umia and it's fine. But notably, Utrecht wants to attack Stockholm by convoying into Scania, something that he says. So, like, I can't let that happen. I gotta bounce that. Jutland's moving to Skagerrak. I gotta bounce that. And man, I wish I had a unit in the Baltic Sea that could do anything, but no, it's in stupid Gulf of Gdansk, turtling around looking to hit the stupid Commonwealth. But, like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
Finland gave up on that attack.
I will say the Commonwealth looks quite nice now, just with the four of them all kind of huddled together trying to wait out the storm.
Yes. The Commonwealth's objectives in this game was to survive.
Yes.
Each of them wanted to stay alive, and none of them wanted the other ones to die, but none of them wanted to take any centers, which would have been great, because they would have put a lot of pressure on Finland. Like, I think Courland, Wilno, and Kiev would have been likely targets, because Kiev is... The player for Kiev is focused on the south and the HBE, and so the center Kiev might be exposed, like, opportunities there, but nope, they don't want to do that because they don't want to risk anything to anyone else attacking them. So they're just going to survive and stay alive, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. Nuremberg, one center, doesn't care about doing anything.
No, he does care about doing something. He cares about coming
here
and tapping me.
Yes, you care about surviving on one center. Aquitaine's trying to win. Freiburg's trying to win. Strasbourg is trying to make sure that Freiburg wins. Vienna, the person in Venice and Trieste, stops caring. So they're going to let Freiburg win. And that's what makes the tension of this endgame position so tough. Because I look at this position and I see a bunch of people looking to throw to Freiburg who don't have to say anything. They're not very active. And so it's a yikes. So my only hope in this game is to convince Finland that they're actually throwing and to hope beyond hope that Finland is serious about throwing to me. Mm-hmm. Finland was never going to throw to me. Finland was trying to get Trondheim to agree to throw to me, and by saying if Finland was throwing to me and Trondheim agreed to throw to me, then Trondheim would give me their centers, and I would just take Trondheim centers but not Finland centers. Very convoluted. I don't get it, but whatever. That's what he said after the fact. Point is, he was never going to throw to me. I can't win this game from here, so I'm done. I'm checked out. I want to form Sweden, and I'm out. I'm off it. All
Right,
right,
so
cool.
meanwhile, what's
Other
happening?
people are trying to win the game still, so they're here to play.
Yeah, so I'm really irritated that I'm gonna get tapped by Nuremberg here, but I also, like, I'm like, okay, so the Aquitaine player is generally saying, okay, it's fine for them to come through. I won't take Paris, but I will. I won't support you into Nantes. None, right? It's just going to be a tap, and I'm like, this is annoying. I'm going to be pinned down on one of the last turns of the game. Really, my objective is still, I want to get a second dot, right? Because that's been my objective all game, and I've kind of been completely unable to do it. Well, survival has been my objective.
Maybe you could have
but this
stabbed
is...
your ally in 01 to get a second dot.
I probably could have, and then I would have died. But,
Maybe not. Maybe Luxembourg would have worked.
possibly. But yeah, so Nuremberg is going to come this way. I think there's still an agreement on carving Luxembourg up, basically happening up here. And
But notably, this is an agreement involving the GBA.
yes, this is true. Okay, so GBA on this turn immediately start talking about killing London, now that Luxembourg is less active, right? In fact, I'm not sure it's immediate. It might be like last minute, in which case it's definitely not immediate, right? But these guys are, now that London has been has ended their use to them, they are gonna try and kill him again. But yeah, so over here, importantly, this Rome move to Savoy. Rome had basically thought that because of that whole talk about Aquitaine basically working with Strasbourg and whatnot, they thought that there was some possibility that Aquitaine would come in and attack them. And Aquitaine wasn't at the end of the day, but they went in there to protect it. And so Aquitaine is then going, okay, well, I'm going to force you out, and I'm going to come over here. And there are a lot of discussions between Aquitaine and the Wheel happening, and a lot of them are focused around, this is where we can collaborate. We'll collaborate on Genoa here, and killing Rome. Poor old Rome, last survivor of the Italians, on one dot at this point, just fighting for survival. And so notably that's going to take Dijon and Marseille, right? I'm like looking at Bordeaux and going, oh, okay, well, Bordeaux is probably going to, well, I need to stay in Nantes still, like I'm pinned down. I'm really hoping Bordeaux will move somewhere else, but I'm kind of thinking at this point it's probably going to just stay in place, right? And maybe Aquitaine are going to stab Strasbourg or something like that. We'll see. And yeah, that's pretty much... I think that's all the negotiations I remember this turn. I'm sure there were a lot more, right? But
There's a lot of stuff involving Morocco, because Morocco is still looking like a threat to win the game on 4 centers with Rabat, who's claiming to throw. Yeah, 4 centers with Rabat claiming to throw in a nice little corner.
mm-hmm.
So, Canaries is a guaranteed capture. Porto seems plausible, but we'll see how it goes. It's obviously not great. I would love to have a second army to take Berbers, but
Yeah.
either way, Rabat. There's a lot of stuff talk. There's a lot of conversation involving Morocco here.
Yes. There is...
Oh, Arkhangelsk blows the fuck up at Moscow for the bounce in Astrakhan. He is so pissed about it. And yeah, it's tough, dude. What did you expect?
Yep.
Because the answer was not that. The answer was somehow he expected Moscow to just let Arkhangelsk keep it. I don't really get it. But yeah.
Am I right in thinking Moscow was basically accepted as an HBE member at this point? I feel like they were. Yeah.
Yep.
So HBE now like controls this area, and they also have Italy, and Cairo is technically HBE as well, I think. So this whole
not technically, Cairo's very much HBE.
Oh yes,
right. Been working with them consistently, right? Coordinating with Smyrna and stuff to make these attacks work. No, Cairo's HBE through and through.
Yeah, I don't know what other negotiations were going on here, but I guess there's something happening. There's probably a lot of anti-Kiev negotiations going on in the HPE, for example.
Not so many negotiations, just like, yeah, we're at war with Kiev.
Yes.
And we're at war in the East, and we're not gonna let the East get broken, because we have a stalemate line here, and we need to hold against Kiev. So, there weren't, like, trying to get Kiev to defect or anything. It was just, hey, alright, we're at war. Let's go. End of the game. Let's make this happen.
Shall we move ahead to moves, then? Unless you want to talk about what you were planning.
Planning. So, Luxembourg is trying to make sure that I lose Bergen. Okay, well, I was probably losing Bergen anyways. Here, I try to talk with Trondheim to get him into Jämtland and try to get him to support me into Umeå, because I think that's an important part of how this is going to go anyways. But, like, that's going to happen in the fall, obviously, because I have to bounce Scania in the spring. So that's a big thing. I decide I want to get in the Gulf of Bothnia and Baltic Sea to maximize the chance that I can, to maximize the pressure that I have on Umeå. Part of the negotiations, he tells me he's going to self-bounce in Helsingfors, which is excellent. Just like, all right, thanks. I'll walk out of Helsingfors because I can reposition now, so that's useful. And this is his way, like, we're trying to not... He recognizes if I go all in on killing him for the rest of the game, he can't win, probably. Probably. He's got a chance still, but if I just say I'm going to attack him for the rest of the game, he cannot win for sure. And so he wants to make me not do that. And so trying to appease me in whatever way he can is fine. I just am checked out. I'm going to try to take Umeå, basically, and that's all I care about at this point, so yeah. I'm done from here. Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then shall we move ahead to the moves?
Yeah, sure. And then, yeah, we can move to the moves and we can just see what's going on with the map.
Okay. I mean, do you want to talk about what's happening up here first, or not?
Sure. It's like basically everything that was said, right? Finland, self-bounced in Helsingfors. He told me that. I got in the Baltic Sea, and Gdansk supported me up there. That's the fleet in Rostock. And there was talk about him, like, bouncing out of Baltic Sea and stuff, and I don't know. It was like, hey, please don't do that. Let me in the Baltic Sea. Let me do stuff, and it was fine. I got the bounces in Scania and Skagerrak because they told me about it, so that was nice and easy. Luxembourg doesn't defend himself at all, and takes North Sea to ensure that I lose Bergen. Okay. Sure.
But does somehow survive. They keep Amsterdam during this time.
Well, Amsterdam is
spring. Sorry,
open.
so, yeah.
But it's spring, and London... The agreement in the GBA has been to let London into Amsterdam.
Oh,
like, that's
right.
what they're talking about.
What I was talking about killing London, it doesn't happen yet, right? Is this...
They don't talk about killing London. They don't talk about it.
They
but
do.
CaptainMeme...
They do on the next turn. They don't hit.
I don't think so. I was reading these messages come in, and they just agree to stab him. They don't agree. Like, they just stab him. Is the fun part.
Oh, okay.
They just do the most GBA thing of GBA things. And there's a bunch of chaos regarding how exactly do they kill Luxembourg here? How do they finish him off? With Utrecht supporting Amsterdam, and, like, are they going to support Amsterdam bite into Amsterdam? Southern bite. Yeah, like what exactly are they happening? There's a bunch of chaos standard GBA negotiations at the end of this phase, but it's unclear what's going on. At this point, Edinburgh is also pissed at me, and Edinburgh wants to see me die. That they're in Dublin now. Presumably because I haven't given them enough respect for their play and stabs or whatever. And like, okay, sure. So they're happy to see Luxembourg go and finish me off and do whatever they can. Again, finish me off by taking Bergen, which...
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Or not even taking Bergen, excuse me, letting Trondheim take Bergen. That's fine. And then, yeah, that's what's going on with the GBA. We can look around the map and see some more moves.
I need to talk a little bit. I'd completely forgotten this was the phase where I did this, right?
Yeah, instead of taking Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Funny.
Well, if I'd have walked into Bordeaux here, they would have pushed me back out again, right?
Yeah, but I would have taken him time.
I think I gave everyone the impression that I was holding in Nantes on this turn. Like, I was very clear about, hey, Nuremberg is coming to tap me, I need to hold in Nantes. But I figured if anything, like, if I'm ever going to get a second supply center, I need to move out of Nantes. This player is not leaving Bordeaux open. Like, they have been pretty clear about holding things here, so this is not going to be my dot. So this is a better place for me to be because it's adjacent to two other supply centers, right? And I can still cover Nantes if I need to. If Nuremberg moves to Normandy, which they did do, I can then bounce them out of Nantes for a turn. Hopefully they die, or then they're done tapping me. You know, they've achieved their stupid meme objective. How dare you do that? But they've achieved that objective and they'll go somewhere else, right? And then I'll be adjacent to some supply centers and I can maybe get my second dot. So I did move out into Iberian without telling anyone. At the same time, Nuremberg comes over here to Normandy to attack me, right? Everyone's convinced that Aquitaine is going to Savoy to attack Genoa, but no, they slip into Paris behind Nuremberg. And so Nuremberg is like, what? Well, no, I'm gonna die if I meme and attack Nantes. And
Yes.
so, yeah, there's a lot of negotiation that happens.
Yes, this is like, oh, is this a throw? Is this not a throw? Because again, my goal is to convince Finland that other people are throwing. But I don't really think it's gonna matter anyways, because Finland's threat was an idle threat. But
yeah.
whatever, I got it. It's my only hope anyways, so I might as well give it a shot. And so. Yeah, we're like, did anyone throw to Freiburg? And the answer is like, Strasbourg isn't defending in the way that like we were. There was lots of moves people were hoping about. Oh yeah, no, it was Vienna, right? It was Sarajevo in Vienna, right? And they walked out of that. It was the actual player for Vienna just inputting all holds this turn instead of trying to do anything. And it was like, look, people are clearly throwing to Freiburg.
Yes.
Right. That's what's happening.
I think Freiburg arranged this swap.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and so they were
but
saying,
like Vienna ordering all holds
sorry,
is
Trieste.
Yeah, but Vienna ordering all holds, right? It's like that's okay. That's someone who's given up on the game and isn't going to do anything to stay alive or defend. And so, great, that's throwing to Freiburg. And Finland's like, I don't really care. he agrees initially. He's like, yeah, totally. All right, I'll let you take Umia and Narva, and you're going to take Oslo from Trondheim, right? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I can get to 7 without Oslo, and he's taking Bergen from me, and he's like, well, I don't want to be the one giving you centers. I want you to take centers from Trondheim. And I'm like, yeah, but Trondheim's not going to say yes to that. And he's like, well, then I'm not going to give you anything either. And I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, Trondheim, you going to support me in the Umia, please? And then Trondheim was like, all right, I guess. And Finn was like, hey, wait, don't do that. I've been a best buddy. And we have a little bit of a thing to just see who can get Trondheim to support them. And we'll see how that ends up going when the phase comes in. But that's what's been going on with negotiations this phase.
Yep.
Arkhangelsk, because he's so pissed at Moscow, ensures that he's going to retake Moscow if Moscow goes for it, instead of pushing units up to the north. So Arkhangelsk, thankfully, is not going to be in position to take anything from me. Great. But also he's not going to take anything from Finland. And, like, I don't know, I was kind of hoping he was going to stab Finland at the end, because he was kind of in position to do that. And guess who took Narva? Finland took Narva. Don't you want Narva now? Arkhangelsk.
It's the Holy Land. There was a pope there at some point.
There was.
Yes.
Yes. So that's basically the only relevant part of the game for me. And of course, Gothenburg and Utrecht are still sticking together. They're best of buds now. Great. Cool. I wish I stabbed people and they responded like that to me.
Yeah. Alright, so, also, this move here, I am a cardinal in the Bumble Church, right? The Caliph is the Pope. The Caliph is very annoyed that the cardinal has gone to Iberian Current, because it is stilting his growth, potentially, right? These are the centres that he's meaning to take. Well, Canaries, Porto, Lisbon are, like, his winning centres. And this unit being here, especially without me informing him of anything, is clearly going to get in the way, right? So we have a bit of banter back and forth where he was quite annoyed at me. I call it banter, it's banter on my side. And I was basically saying, hey, I'm a Bumble Cardinal, I need to make the pilgrimage to the Holy Land. So I'm going to do that.
Sorry, which Holy Land are we talking about?
Well,
Helsingfors?
He's the Caliph, so over to his home now.
I see, but it's not the Holy Land.
Well, it's a Holy Land. There's a Pope
So
there.
I made the push that whoever owns Helsingfors should be the Bumble Pope. a couple times this game.
Yes, I wonder
Um,
why.
well, Finland had it for most of those turns, to be clear. But wouldn't that be useful? But no, they rejected that every time.
Yeah.
But no, Helsingfors is the Holy Land. None of this slander. The Holy Land is the Holy Land, regardless of where the Pope is.
Well, the Pope is down here now, so I was making the pilgrimage to see the Caliph, I guess.
Yeah, say hi. I am sending a diplomatic envoy.
Shall we move to the clean map and I can talk about the negotiations that are
it.
happening here? So, importantly, Nuremberg freaks out, right? Because, like, they are gonna die if they do their plan now. If they tap Nantes. They are trying to figure out any way possible to survive, over here. And so they initially, like, Aquitaine basically offers them a deal and says, hey, if I can get into Ghent, right, I will leave you alive in Paris and then you can do your Nantes tap on the last turn. And Oxford sees this and goes, no, I'm not going to let you into Ghent. Ghent is mine. And this is a bit of a surprise to everyone because previously the deal, I think, in fact, I'm not even sure Oxford was supposed to move to Utrecht in this in like the Luxembourg coalition. This might have been a completely random move, but certainly they weren't supposed to take two of the centers in like the deal of splitting Lux.
Nobody stuck to the deal anyways. Like there was no official deal about splitting them up anyway. The only ones who like did it were the GPA to take centers and getting supported in.
But then Oxford basically threatens, hey, I'm going to bounce Ghent if anyone is going for Ghent. And so Aquitaine says, alright, well, the only way that you survive then, Nuremberg, is if you support my unit through. I don't remember what Hesse was doing. I think it was covering Lux or something. So in order to take Ghent, it needs the support. And Nuremberg eventually agrees to do this, right? And support them up. Now, I'm looking at this situation, I'm going, do I really trust that they're doing that? They're not going to take the shot to go to Nantes anyway, right? And also, I was a bit worried about this Irish unit because, of course, the GBA are the GBA. You never know what they're going to do. So, I was, for most of this phase, thinking about covering Nantes. But in...
The GBA, worth noting, has actually coordinated for about a full year now.
Yes, they have.
Right, once they agreed, like, once Wessex, like, got wrecked, and with Speragan taking Edinburgh, like, that was all agreed upon for, like, a year and a half now.
Yes.
And then all of these moves to get the convoy out to make the attack on Luxembourg, like, they might actually be a real alliance that's working together. So they still are kind of a chaotic mess, but, like, they actually look like they could be making moves in a conquering land that isn't theirs, right? Ghent was a good province to capture. They're in Utrecht now. They could take Southern Bight, or Amsterdam as well, right? If they just, like, support themselves in there, right, with Utrecht. Like, that's fine. I don't know. So they might actually be doing stuff. But, as CaptainMeme is foreshadowing, they are the GBA.
They are the GBA.
He's like, oh yeah, they were just talking about killing London, right? No, they weren't.
So, this is down south, basically. I'm in Iberian, right? And I'm basically just being very non-committal about what I'm doing there. Partially because I want to annoy Marrakesh, because I think they're the clear... like, favourites for winning the board at this point, maybe outside of Freiburg. And so keeping them down is kind of a side objective. I would like to try and make sure that no one runs away with it completely. But also, like, if I'm not being clear on exactly what I'm doing, maybe there's a chance I can slip into Azores because they're a bit confused about, you know, maybe they're thinking I'm planning to bounce Nantes, in order to stay in Iberian or something like that. I just want to be able to get into Azores. And I feel like, rather than playing mind games with saying, you know, I am going to Azores or I'm not going to Azores, I'm just going to leave it up in the air and hope that they leave it open. But most likely I'm going back to Nantes at this point. I think that there's too much probability that I die if I leave it open. And then, at the end of the phase, I see a little negotiation between the GBA members, in which I can't remember exactly what was said, but I remember it strongly enough to think, okay, Ireland is not going to Nantes because they committed to doing something with regard to London. I remember that Oxford was going like nudge nudge wink wink, I'm doing this thing. It was something along that line, and I don't remember if they said it properly, but they certainly were giving the impression that they were going to do something London related, and Ireland was doing the same, right? And it was all in the last few minutes of the phase. I was like, okay, well, do I think that that Nuremberg is coming to Nantes or not? Or not? Because that is kind of what decides my move here, right? If I think that Ireland is going the other way, I should go for a dot here instead of coming back and covering my centre. And I decide to pull the trigger on it. I think Nuremberg has generally been fairly honest about what they're doing. When they're being dishonest about what they're doing, generally they've been quiet rather than
or posting
lying.
about it publicly a couple times.
Yeah, well, that's true, too. Yeah, so I think, yes, they are supporting Aquitaine into Ghent. And so I enter last minute a move to Azores. Might not have been exactly last minute, but I entered the move to Azores very late, and thought, well, if I die, so be it. I'm going for the second centre. This is my chance. There were some other negotiations that happened over here as well. Madrid was trying to get me to support them into Porto, but at the end of the day, they just decided to go for the 50-50 instead, because I wouldn't commit to that. And I don't remember a lot else of what was going on over here, so maybe we should just move back up to where you are.
Yeah. Again, I've pretty much talked through it. I realized I talked through it in with the move stuff. But yeah, so these people did the stuff, and then we had the pitch to try to see who's gonna get supported into Umia, and who isn't, and how are things gonna happen, and like how do we stay alive. So one of the things is that I do decide I'm gonna take Oslo, from
Bergen, just like Bergen to Oslo, or?
Yes, I'm going to support Bergen to Oslo because Trondheim was wishy-washy enough. We didn't make this work, so I'm not going into Umia. I'm going to take Oslo, and I'm going to use Baltic Sea to tap Scania to stay alive there. And Stockholm has to support Bergen to Oslo. And this is because with Finland, we agree, very end of the phase, fine. You just take Helsingfors from Umia, and then I'll take Umia, I get to form Sweden, and then me just taking Oslo is a bonus to, Oslo stat me, so I'll take a center from him, that's fine. And then Finland's like, alright, sure, that's fine. That's where this phase finally ends, the very end of the phase, after we have all of our, like, tussle and whatever.
Yeah. Right. So, I think that covers all the negotiations I was looking at, basically, and so we can probably move on to the actual moves?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that is the clean map. Here, I do go for Azores, and no one goes for Nantes. This is, like, incredible. Right, so, at the turnover of the phase, there's generally a time, I think we mentioned this before, where orders get locked and everyone's like talking about what happened, but before the official map has been posted, right? So during this time, I'm like, did I die? Ireland, Nuremberg, did either of you go for me? And Nuremberg goes, no, I supported I supported Aquitaine up so that I'd survive. And Ireland goes, no, and the GBA were like celebrating over coordinating successfully to kill London, as you've seen here. So I knew they didn't go for it either. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I survived. I didn't get the second centre. I hadn't asked whether I was getting the second centre or not, but I was just like, okay, well, I took the risk leaving it open and it was fine, so I'm very happy. And so myself and Aquitaine Aquitaine had previously been chatting to Nuremberg about this whole support up to Ghent thing, right? And our French alliance had been the Two Musketeers at this point, because Paris had been kicked out and Luxembourg had been kicked out. So I went to Nuremberg, you didn't stab me, like, hell yeah. Do you want to be in the Three Musketeers now, then? Like, let's just ride this out to the end of the game. I'm so happy about this. And Aquitaine was being oddly quiet about the whole thing. Nuremberg was just going, yeah, that sounds awesome. And then the moves get revealed, and Aquitaine killed them. So we go back down to being two musketeers again.
Got it.
We were three musketeers for all of like a minute. And
That's brutal.
it was very sad to see, and Aquitaine was clearly a bit like worried about the fact that I was clearly so buddy with Nuremberg after this, because immediately then asked, "Are we still good?" And I was like, "Yeah, we are still good. Like, I'm still completely fine with you. It's fine that you killed this guy."
Yes, absolutely,
with.
Master. Yes,
No,
please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
Yeah.
No, this is not your thought.
I was like really sad to see Nuremberg die, because over those few minutes of me figuring out that I was still alive, right? They were the person I was like talking to and going, "High five, hell yeah! We can
Not
do your
Aquitaine, yeah,
yeah." And then Aquitaine murdered them, and I was quite sad, but I wasn't gonna say that I was sad. I was like, "Yeah, this is totally fine," and it was quite clearly transparent to some people, I think, that I was annoyed with Aquitaine but wasn't going to say it, right? But yeah, Aquitaine seemed to accept it, so that was the thing that happened. But yeah, so the GBA collaborates to kill London on this phase.
Yep.
And they bounce London out of Amsterdam despite offering to support them in, which also keeps Luxembourg alive. So Luxembourg is currently being annoying towards you. They are going to stay on the board for another turn here. And notably, down here in the south, Spain manages to win the 50-50 against Portugal, which is really bad news for Morocco because they were kind of relying on those centres to win. And Morocco also, the Spanish powers are coming into the Strait of Gibraltar. Like, Tunis is trying to move this way. It's just not looking great for their possibility of getting beyond these few centres over here. Like, 5, they're on 5, which is a really good number, but it's not looking to be enough, because Freiburg is now on 6. Right?
I think Aquitaine is also on 6.
Aquitaine is also on 6. Yeah, these two are, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Morocco. Do you want to talk about the results of these moves up here?
Yeah, up in the north. So,
Diplo strat siren.
Sorry?
There was a Diplo strat siren, I was just
oh, great.
pointing that out.
No, so, I get Oslo. That was expected, unless Umi did something crazy. But Finland stabs me again. Finland just takes Helsingfors, and like he said after the fact, he was like, "Oh, hey, I wanted to make a move that like if I could have countered his moveset by supporting myself into Umeå and bouncing him out of Helsingfors." So there was a risk there, but from my perspective, I'm losing Bergen either way. I can't take Oslo because Bergen doesn't do anything. So if I take Umeå and bounce him out of Helsingfors, I'm still only on 4 centers here. It doesn't actually get me anything. I'm going to lose a center in the west or the east. And like if I take Helsingfors, I also have to let the army into Scania, and that's brutal. So yikes. So I instead do this one because it's less committal, and hey, just hope that Finland is honest again. But no, he goes for this. So he's on 5, which is brutal. But 5 is not 6. Or no, is he on 5 even?
1,
yeah, he's
2,
on 5.
3, 4, 5, yeah.
Yeah. But 5 is not 6. There are people on 6, and it's difficult for Finland to get any more centers. And at this point in the game is when I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. I can't win. I'm only on 4. Or am I down 1? I'm down 1. Yeah, I'm down 1. So I have to lose something. Well, I'll pitch my fleet in Oslo, and I'm going to let Trondheim take it, and I'm going to use this as a negotiation. I'm going to say, hey, Trondheim, help me kill Umeå Finland, because they stabbed me twice. Brutally both times. And we could have still worked together, but he just said no each time. So help me deny Umeå. They'll win. And Trondheim was like, "Did he really stab you?" And I was like, "Yes, he really stabbed me." He's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. All right, sounds good." And that's how that went.
Yep. Um,
Notably, so in Utrecht and Gothenburg, there was an agreement for Gothenburg to take Copenhagen. I forget why exactly, but that was the thing. But Utrecht just also walks into Bremen.
that wasn't agreed, I assume.
No,
Um,
so it's just like, okay, sure.
Yep, they end up trading and being on the same cent account each. I am
Yeah,
I haven't really mentioned it that much. I am super happy to see Utrecht doing well enough to still be on 3 centers at this point. Like obviously, Amsterdam is dead. Of the Weehoogers, Amsterdam is dead. I am on 1 supply center and have basically been vassalized for the whole game. But Utrecht, working with the Vikings, has actually done like incredibly well for someone who was forced out of their homeland and only survived because of a lucky guess, right?
yep.
I was really happy for them.
Hey, you should work with Ezio. You get the 3 centers.
Okay, I'm gonna stop short of endorsing that message, but I am very happy for Utrecht. So is there anything else here we particularly want to talk about? Tunis stabs Cairo for Cairo. So they are actually, despite never being part of any alliance, like really, Tunis is doing really well.
Yep.
uh,
Well, I mean, 3 centers really
I
well is a really strong
That,
phrase.
that's three
Again,
times as many centers as a rather excellent diplomacy player has.
yes.
right
So
now.
it's the thing when if you're looking at just having a number of centers at the end of the game, it's fine. But if you're trying to win the game, it's doesn't quite get you there.
Yeah, but it's still impressive. And meanwhile, there's just a lot of like the HBE is just trying to move against the Berta Bros here, right? But it doesn't feel like there's going to be much shifting on this front.
No one in the
Wait,
HBE can.
was this agreed?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That's a full
But like,
turn, so
no one in
Moscow's
the
going to go.
HBE can win from here. Kiev is just held down and can't really get much from the HBE, so no progress there. There were some fun like guesses. Like on the last term, one of the things we didn't talk about was like Kiev support held Constantinople because they were trying to force Constantinople to retreat into the Black Sea for a reason instead of just having Constantinople move there. I didn't really understand, but whatever. There was fun tactics going on in this part of the world, and it was a fun tactical fight. But ultimately, none of them like because Kiev is stuck on 4 and couldn't grow this year. Kiev can't win either. And like even if Kiev could maybe grow, there's still so much pressure on them they can't really grow. So at this point in the game, it's down to again if Finland hard throws to me, I could still win, but I don't even think so. So now the only people who can possibly win are Freiburg, Aquitaine, Marrakesh, and Finland,
Yeah,
who
pretty
like
much.
have a chance to win the game. Pretty much. Like I think technically, if everyone on the map coordinates, one of these 4 centers could still get up there. Or like if the people who are on 6 centers decide to give up centers, then it gets crazier. But like assuming the people who are in contention for the win continue to play for the win, these are the people who can win the game. So
Yes.
it's just like, yeah, how do we actually get there? And what does it look like as we approach the end of the game?
Yeah,
Um,
and notably, so that means that there are a lot of people on this map without that objective of winning
anything to
anymore,
do.
right?
Yeah.
They do have stuff to do, notably surviving, but they do also have, like, what is my objective for the end of the game? And this is where something quite interesting happens. So if we move on to builds, I assume builds is
Yeah,
fine
we
for
can do
us.
builds and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, builds and we can go to that
So
empty
you
map.
will note that Archangelisk has a free build because they got a unit blown up down here. That unit that Moscow was basically trapped there by bouncing them, right? So they get this army build in Novgorod. And at some point this phase, someone, I can't remember who it was, says, hey, Archangelisk has this unit in Novgorod, it can move to Archangelisk in the spring. Which means, you know that meme from the very first turn of convoying Archangelisk to Levant? Perhaps we can get the international community together and actually do it. Like, we would be successful in doing the meme, and it would prove superiority over the wheel, who have still failed to wheel despite the entire wheel almost being owned by one person now. And because basically everyone on that path, except for Marrakesh, is pretty much out of contention at this point, right? That seems like a very realistic thing to do all of a sudden. Like, these people could make this happen. It's not as far-fetched as it was all that time ago. So that starts becoming the major talking point of basically everyone around the outside of the map. And Marrakesh says, I am willing to do this too. I don't think I can get to 6. There are too many people containing me, right?
Well, plus we expect Aquitaine and Freiburg to gain multiple centers this phase.
Yeah, so
right?
basically...
So we don't think 6 is a winning... Yeah, if we thought 6 was a winning supply center count, then even 3 center players were in contention. But we're expecting it to be 7 or 8, guaranteed. And 8, we looked at it, and 8's going to be the number.
So yeah, Marrakesh ends up committing to the world convoy. In fact, they also, like Madrid, the reason that there was a lot of tense negotiation around the world convoy of certain people wanting certain things to happen just to be sure about it. One of the things for Marrakesh was, I do not want Portugal to die, because they've been my friend, and Madrid is going, I'm going to kill them anyway. But eventually they come up with the interesting possibility, I think I actually suggest this, of convoying Lisbon into Azores to give Madrid the centre that they want. It also makes sure that I can't take Azores, so I'm committed to the world convoy that way, right? And Marrakesh decides to go with that, says, hey, I will convoy Madrid to here, and then the turn after, we can go for this world convoy stuff. I wasn't paying attention to the negotiations that happened down here for it, but the negotiations up here were all pretty successful. Notably, the one person who has a pretty big incentive not to do the world convoy would potentially be me, because I've got this person who has been rather stabby right next to me, right? But at this point, I figure, you know, there's basically no chance of me keeping Nantes if Aquitaine really does commit against me, right? Some people were saying, hey, you should let Ireland into English Channel. Like, Ireland should come into English Channel in order to help you hold Nantes if Aquitaine commits against it. But I was like, you know, Aquitaine was telling me straight up, I'm not going to focus on you. I was also pointing out to Aquitaine, hey, you've got bigger issues, right? Your competitor is here, and Strasbourg might throw to them if you don't, like, help control it. So I just thought, well, what the hell? I'm going to commit to the world convoy as well, and I'm just going to trust Aquitaine that they're not going to attack me. And in doing so, I also think, okay, I'm going to bounce Ireland out of English Channel, because that keeps the only other unit that could potentially kill me out. If I'm trusting Aquitaine, I really don't trust anyone in Britain, for obvious reasons. So I'm just going to make sure that stays clear in the spring. That's basically what my negotiations were. It's all about the world convoy. Oh, and another note on the world convoy. If you saw that Ireland video from the first episode, there is another excellent Ireland video. They made a propaganda video supporting the world convoy and trying to get people to do it. And it's excellent, and it will be linked in the description again. I think it involves them actually going to a busy location in a city while dressed up in all of, like, the fancy gear from the previous videos. I just really want to see what people were what people's reactions were when they went past them wearing all that stuff. But yeah, that also happened. Check it out in the description. It's an excellent video. Now for more serious things, let's look at what Ezio's negotiations were.
I mean, I don't know how serious they are, because again, I'm not winning the game at this point, so I'm like, whatever. I just want to spite Finland. Finland stabbed me twice now on consecutive years in the fall, and like, I don't want to see him win if he does that. So I, like, again, if you stab me twice, right, I can handle Trondheim stabbing me the one time, right? It was a good thought. He, like, it was a play. I can handle people being pissed at me, and I'm still trying to work with them, but like, Finland stabbed me twice here. I'm gonna try to stop him from winning the game. Like, that's just, he didn't let me make Sweden. It was so annoying, right? Because I'm leaving Sweden now, right? I'm flying out of here, and I can't even take Umeå to actually form it at the end of the game. It's just...
I will make an official announcement here. Flare, you have GM bias towards the nation of Sweden. You should have allowed Ezio to form Sweden even without Umeå. Just because you are Swedish doesn't mean you can't. You have to make things 100% historically accurate.
But it's okay. I needed Umeå. I didn't get Umeå. Finland stopped me from getting Umeå. Whatever. So, here I'm gonna just mess with it, and here, uh, 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 God, what's his, Trondheim agrees to support me into Umeå, from Stockholm.
Hmm.
And it's like, all right, cool. So I'll put 2 on Umeå, 2 on Helsingfors, and, that's that.
Yep. Um. Okay. I also remember Finland had like a rock paper scissors duel against Kiev, where basically they agreed that if Finland won, then Kiev would give them centers to try and take
I thought
them
that
over
was in
the
the fall.
top. Was that in the fall?
I think that was in
Okay.
the fall. I'm pretty
Um.
sure that's a fall
Let's
discussion.
talk
Yeah, I
about
was
that
gonna
then.
get
And
there. Yeah, because that's
also,
gonna happen, and yeah, that
all
is a
right.
big part of the end of the game.
You cover that then. Luxembourg was negotiating hard to try and survive on this turn. Like one thing I really positive I have to say about Luxembourg is he did not give up like ever.
Oh,
Um,
one of the important things on the map that we have, our map is inaccurate. There is an army in Narva.
oh, wait, what? Hang on.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
That is an important part of the negotiations. It's not like I have a guaranteed 2 I'm taking Umeå and Helsingfors. No, 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 no. It's I am likely to take one of Umeå or Helsingfors with support into Umeå. I don't need to support myself, so I just put 2 on Helsingfors, and that's fine. Like, whatever. He can stop it by having Narva support Helsingfors, but it makes it tough if he has to use Narva to support Helsingfors. He, like, is going to be taxed, and he can't use Narva to go elsewhere to do something like take Novgorod, and so it makes it difficult to see where exactly he's going to get his centers from. Um, and so Finland has a neat solution to this that you can see on his turn to help to explain how he's going to get his centers. So yes, but we can go to the next to see the results of these spring moves, and then we can talk
Okie
about
dokie.
other end of game stuff.
Yeah. Um. Do you want to talk about anything specific first?
Yeah, so the tactics here that Finland do are really elegant tactics. So he was predicting pretty hard that I was going to go for the move set that I went for. And it's a very reasonable prediction because I'd asked to get support on the Umeå from Stockholm, and so I don't have to support that. I just have to send extra units into Helsingfors to try to it. So he used 2 strength to bounce Helsingfors. It's important he attacked Helsingfors from Umeå so that Umeå, even though it was getting tapped, wasn't getting its support cut. So Umeå successfully bounced me out of Helsingfors. So I'm not in there. Helsingfors moved out into Kola. And so now Helsingfors is going to be able to take Arkhangelsk, and he can still cover Helsingfors. Uh, so you can still cover Helsingfors by tapping Umeå, and then
Can
no Pskov. Wait a second, it gets tight again. Either way, these are good tactics to bounce me out of Helsingfors and to still get the Helsingfors unit to move, but only lose Umeå instead. So it's a good tactical situation here. But again, I'm looking at this again, and it's like I'm in Umeå now. So if Finland, if I wasn't supported in to Umeå, is the real kicker here. If I didn't get that support, then he's still in Umeå as well.
yes.
And so then he's absolutely cooking. But because the support happened, he got kicked out of Umeå, so it's not looking great. But if he gets supported back into Umeå,
He's got the
and I
2 units on Helsingfors still, right?
yeah, I have 3 though.
That is true.
Right.
But
So
you
I
have to
would
give up Umeå to
I
get the
do.
3.
Yeah, I give up Umeå, but then he takes what? Arkhangelsk and Novgorod. So he's +2 minus Helsingfors. So he's net +1. And so then if he takes Poltovia, he goes +1 again. So he's only on 7.
Moldavia, yeah.
Whatever.
That
Yeah, yeah,
isn't the
Moldavia.
center.
He's only on 7, right?
Yeah.
So again, and since 8 is the number, it's okay. So like I'm pretty confident Finland isn't going to win the game anymore. But whatever. Finland is he's hoping to get Moldavia, and he thinks that if he gets Moldavia, he can still win this game. And so he goes and plays rock paper scissors with Kiev because Kiev wants to be let back into Kiev. And both of them, rather than trying to like say who deserves it more, is like, all right, we both have an agreeable position here. Let's just play rock paper scissors to see who gets it. And they play rock paper scissors, and it's the most hyped game of rock paper scissors of all time. It's a best of 5. They get 2-2. They tie a couple times, and then Kiev wins. So Finland can't win the game anymore.
Yep.
And Finland not winning means that he doesn't care anymore about Umia and about this whole area. He's like, all right, I can't win. Fine, whatever. And this means we can end the game nice and amicably where Trondheim wants to have beautiful borders in Scandinavia. This is actually the pitch, funnily enough, that we make a part of the negotiations. Is I'm like, well, help me and I can retake Sweden because then I can have actually the Swedish borders and he'll take Oslo and stuff, and everything will be okay. So Trondheim gets happy because Finland doesn't try to contest anything anymore. He's going to have Finland and that eastern border, and then you look, we have Denmark nicely with Copenhagen and Kiel, excuse me, and then he's going to take Oslo. I can't defend it. That's fine. The only potential issue is Gothenburg because Utrecht is in Scania, and I'm going to cover Stockholm, and now he's going to either cover Gothenburg or not, and then we'll see if he keeps him out. So
Hmm.
that's Trondheim's objective, and that's great. I can't win. Finland can't win. And there's a bunch of chaos between Aquitaine and Freiburg,
Yeah, so
trying
I
to figure out
barely
who's going to end up.
talked about what had happened down here because I don't remember the
Yeah,
exact negotiations, right? These players are both trying to get to 8 primarily, right? Is it
yeah,
8 or 7?
8.
I can't. 8. Okay. Um, and where's Freiburg's extra dot if they're going to 8?
Pretty sure they're trying to get to 8. Maybe they
Um,
only do end up trying. Like they might settle for only going to 7, but like they're looking to get to 8. I'm pretty
mhm.
sure.
Right, and then so there's a lot of negotiation going on this front, and neither of them really trust the other ones. You notice that Aquitaine is going to Saxony to put pressure on Freiburg. I think Freiburg at this point was like teasing the idea of doing a wheel on the last turn, like a real wheel, to try and get people off their back so that they could wheel so that they could pretend that they were wheeling and maybe get more centers, like saying, "Hey, I need people off my back in order to wheel." But Aquitaine wasn't having that. They were going to, try and get a bit of position here. And Aquitaine also manages to get position around Luxembourg. Luxembourg, at this point, starts negotiating hard to try and make sure that people are tapping the centers that Aquitaine can support him from. And Utrecht is trying to get Utrecht back. That is their objective right now. So, yeah. Everywhere else, it's a lot of movement out into the position for the world convoy, right? Because people have agreed to do that now. Except there is one big roadblock that the world convoy faces on the last turn. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to talk about this. So, Madrid did get the convoy to Azores offered to them. They didn't take it. They just moved into Sea of Azores instead, or entered an invalid move there. I don't know why, but they didn't move adjacent to Portugal anyway. So Morocco is still happy to take part in the world convoy. So if we go to the clean map, assuming you're done talking about moves.
Yeah, I do think they're only going to get to 7 as I'm looking at this tactics. I'm pretty sure there's just no way for either of them to get to 8. And
Mhm.
notably, Finland was working really hard to make that happen because I think Finland saw they can only get to 7. And so it's like, all right, great, you guys can only get to 7, but Finland could still get to 7, right? Even if Finland wins the rock paper scissors, and if I take Helsingfors, and if they get into Arkhangelsk and Novgorod, and Trondheim supports the back into Umia, Finland gets to 7.
Yep.
Arkhangelsk is part of the world convoy, so that's pretty easy. And the player for Arkhangelsk is happy to give Novgorod to Finland because Arkhangelsk doesn't care anymore. Um, and so then it's going to come down to does he win rock paper scissors, and does he get Jämtland, Trondheim to support him back in?
Yeah.
Apparently, Trondheim was thinking about this, but it became irrelevant once Finland lost the rock paper scissors. So,
Yeah.
all right,
So if we
that's it
move
for
to
me.
the clean map here, in fact, there's a retreat. So note
Yeah,
that Freiburg has gone down into Venice, right? And Vienna did nothing to stop that. So they just let Freiburg in, then retreat out here. Everyone is a bit concerned about this possibility. Like, this is the one thing that might stop the world convoy, is that people are going, wait, Rome is under threat by Freiburg and Vienna. If Vienna just supports Freiburg in, Freiburg gets up to 8 and wins the game. And the only way to avoid that is to have these two units both put their power on Rome, which means that the convoy through Tyrrhenian Sea doesn't work, right? And so for a while, it looked like the world convoy was going to be abandoned because Tyrrhenian Sea had to do that instead of world convoying. But I think, like, Vienna just not talking to anyone, including Freiburg on this turn, kind of saved it, right? Because they weren't coordinating. So Smyrna, who is this player here, thought, okay, well, maybe I can just tap Rome with the 1. I'm going to commit to the World Convoy anyway. And so basically everyone in the convoy line agrees to convoy from Archangelisk to Levant. There's a lot of negotiation that happens on this front. I really wish I could go into it in more detail, but I really wasn't paying enough attention at this point. So I really hope, especially Freiburg and Aquitaine, I would love to see comments on what happened at the end of the game from you. If either of you do comment, I'll pin it. Well, I can only pin one of them, but I'll pin one of them.
Well, whatever. It's, again, they're end-game negotiations with a bunch of people who are mostly eliminated and maybe trying to survive, and trying to make sure the other person can't stab and get to a higher center count.
Yes, so they're both trying to get to 7. Well, they're both trying to get to 8 at this point, but I think they're both making out that they're going to only go to 7.
And they've made moves in the spring to make it more difficult for them to get to 7. Like, to make it difficult for them to get to 8. Like, none of them are really in position to go hard. Like, Freiburg, you'll notice, is just in Vienna and Trieste. They don't have anything further east, like in Silesia or Galicia or Croatia. So, well, Galicia doesn't actually border any other... Whoa, that's a weird center. Anyways, like, they haven't pushed out in any ways to make progress, like, to try to take more dots. So, it's really just that, like, for Freiburg, the only center they can take here is Strasbourg. And notably, Aquitaine is adjacent to Strasbourg.
They could potentially take Rome with support here, but yes, Strasbourg is like...
it's with Strasbourg with Vienna. Yeah, that's fair. But they have to take
Strasbourg is an interesting situation because on both sides, that could be the 8th dot, right? But they don't want it to be the 8th dot of the other side. So they're both, like, agreeing to support Strasbourg to hold as, like, a buffer zone between the two, so neither of them get that dot. And I think Luxembourg, like, makes a huge pitch here to try and make sure that he doesn't die, but there's nothing... Like, he needs to get Oxford to tap Ghent and Munster to tap Utrecht, or one of the two to happen, and for that to be, for, like, Aquitaine not to predict which one is happening, because as long as they support him with the uncut support, they will get in. Right? And if... there is... Yeah, so I'll move on to show the results of that in a second. There was one more interesting thing that happened, which was Ireland kind of went to Oxford and went, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Wouldn't it be funny if at the end of the GBA, I owned everything? And for some reason, Oxford just goes, that'd be funny. That sounds hilarious. And so if you look at the moves here, Oxford just moves out of Oxford, and Ireland takes the entirety of Britain, except for...
Yeah, Dublin is open, but he doesn't order the move.
They don't order into Dublin? I think they didn't want to kill Edinburgh.
They convoy... They put a convoy in from Archangelisk into Dublin.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's another convoy in Rockall Rise, and Rockall Rise borders Greenland Sea, so it doesn't break the World Convoy.
Yeah, so the World Convoy, it's shown as going through Island Basin. It doesn't, Iceland Basin. It goes round here, through Greenland, and then over this border into Rockall Rise. Goes through Iberian Current, that's my unit. I'm part of the World Convoy, I'm in the picture, yay. Goes through Morocco. For some reason, Madrid orders a convoy with their army, which, again, it shouldn't go through, but the GMs have had fun and put it through there. Goes through Strait of Gibraltar.
Fish, it's okay.
Albaran Sea, Algerian Basin, goes through Tyrrhenian Sea. Cairo supports the move here. Ionian Sea, there's Tunis supporting the move. They're convoying it as well. And into Levant, and Moscow orders an invalid support to make that happen. So at the end of the day, the thing that was torpedoed in the first year because there were too many people with selfish objectives, right? It happens. The international society comes together and makes the World Convoy happen. We can be better together.
Well, yeah, nobody has any more actual objectives because they they can't do anything anymore.
All right, stop being a killjoy. It was it was amazing, and I'm happy to have been part of it. Ezio was
I
just
wish I
salty
could have
because
blown it up.
he wasn't.
Honestly, I would have blown this up despite everyone in this game. I was so pissed. I really wish I had anything close to it, but no.
I'm very glad you did not. And
Yeah,
importantly
obviously my
here,
party was winning, but my god, I was just so tilted at like half of the people for just giving me shit for the entire game for no reason. I was so pissed. Holy. I was not for a couple days. I didn't want to review this game because I was just so filled with vitriol at everyone. I have since calmed down.
See,
but
this is the upside of being on one supply center for the whole game, is you're not really angry at anyone at the end of it, right?
yeah, because you're just happy to be alive.
I was angry at Luxembourg, but they die here. Utrecht gets into Amsterdam, and the actual Utrecht supports Hesse back into Utrecht, which means they weren't tapping Ghent, which is why Aquitaine did it this way around. So Luxembourg does end up dying, and to be fair, I think I'm not even that angry at Luxembourg. I was angry at them in the game for what they caused, right? But I also think they played an amazing game. It just... They got into too many alliances and, like, they were too duplicitous, and it all came crumbling down because of a lot of... Like, that Trial of Luxembourg was an absolute highlight of the game, and I love that it happened. And I have to give massive respect to Luxembourg for fighting to the very end with this, especially in their press. But yeah, at the end, the winners of the game end up being Freiburg, who goes to 7, and Aquitaine, who goes to 7 without stabbing me,
The winners of the game are an afterthought after the World Convoy.
Yeah, the World Convoy obviously takes center stage.
Whatever.
No, we have to get to the winners last, because we have to congratulate them last, right? That's like what we end on.
Sure. Okay.
But like, massive congratulations to Aquitaine and to Freiburg. Like, Aquitaine coming from the substitute position of Bordeaux, just having Bordeaux and Marseille, right, at that point, and then just slowly expanding by stabbing one person after another, was fun to see. It was scary to see from my position, but I'm very glad they didn't kill me, so thank you, Aquitaine. And then Freiburg, on the other hand, like, they were leading an alliance that basically completely collapsed into itself, right? And then they managed to lead that alliance to victory by being the only one left in the alliance. But they made the people around them feel good enough about them that they got a lot of easy centers at the end. Like, these people walked out to give it to them, and that is a very solid tactic in diplomacy. Like, make your allies feel good about you. It's what Ezio was trying to do and failed to do with the Vikings. Are there any post-game thoughts you want to give that aren't too salty to bring down the mood?
Oh, it's that I'm a great ally, and I am the victim here. After every single one of my allies stabbed me over consecutive years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Clearly, I did nothing to deserve this.
Well,
and...
you surely managed to form Sweden at the end, right?
No. You can only form in the fall. In the winter, excuse me.
You couldn't form on the last... Oh my god, Flare, why would you do
I also didn't submit the orders to do it, because submission for countries happens in the winter, and there's no winter in the final year.
Fair enough. Okay, I also want to say congratulations, Commonwealth, for surviving Ezio's, like, completely focused attack on you for however long. Well done, on being buddy-buddy over here. And HBE, they end up with more or less what they had in that situation.
Sure you don't include Kiev in the HBE.
Yes, Kiev is Berta Bros. And Kiev gets Kiev back, so there's a lot of, like, side objectives being completed here. But primarily... and also, Caliph, praise Bumble, you are the only Caliph/Pope to survive Ezio's wrath, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, next time be closer to me and then see how that goes, Mr. Bumble.
Alright, so, I'm gonna move this forward to the ending position here. What is going on over here? I think we need an explanation from Rostock and whoever this is. Is that Warsaw now, or have they all, like, moved places?
I think that's Warsaw. I believe the Commonwealth decided that they wanted to get back to their original centers as best as they could.
Okay.
Um,
And Wallachia just ends up in
Obviously,
Prussia.
Gdansk and Prussia are dead, but Warsaw and Krakow are back in their original homes, yes.
So yeah, and this is the final map. I believe he provided a clean map as well.
Yeah,
Is
with
this
no
the-
units, just borders to
Yeah,
see the
and
pretty borders.
also taking like he's made the borders prettier by like coloring in stuff like York was
Yeah,
originally Oxford's color. Now that's all
yeah.
Irish,
And
right?
like Lapland is now Swedish when Finland had it.
Yeah.
It's like, yes. Also, Bolsjunaglasland, the center that I was never gonna walk into, that one, that's also Swedish now. Yep.
Wait, oh,
hmm
that one there. Okay.
Yeah, but Scania, the center that I've been walking into for the entire game, that's now part of Denmark. Okay, sure.
Righto, and I'm still the same. I am
Actually,
Cardinal
Denmark was in
Ghent
there
of
most recently.
Not.
Never mind. That's not fair. Denmark was the last person in there.
Okay.
Or Gothenburg, Copenhagen,
But yeah,
whatever.
note the Levant is Archanglis coloured. We managed to get the world convoy off. Very happy about that. I do also want to. I haven't gotten this up in advance. I really should have. But the graphs that Azores made. Let me just load this. Here, I am now free to click through them. I think we don't actually have much time before Ezio has to go, so I will very quickly go through. But here's message sent leaderboard. Look at Marrakesh up here. Oh, he renamed it Idrisids, not Morocco. Okay.
Oh, sure. Okay.
13,695 messages. Bloody hell. Rabat is Pumble. They had 7,000. Then Iberia, that's Madrid, had
Let's call him D.
6,800. I do not know what these call. Oh, it says up here. So number of supply centers here. Years survived is the last
Sure.
one. Pumble. Years survived one, somehow still in 17th place with 2,500 messages. Well, now you see why there's a religion named after them, right?
They were so nice to have around.
But yeah, this is Ezio comes in fourth, amazingly.
Very respectable. Yeah.
I am the highest placing one dot power in 3,482 messages, but still like barely half of what some of the top three had, and like much less than Steve Lyon. Incredible.
Yeah. And then you see Finland, by the way, is not far behind me, right?
Yes.
Aquitaine is surprising here because it says Gaul, but this is the player, not the country, I believe.
Oh, so
And
they.
Keith Rogers, I think, is the sub. Oh, you think they subbed
So
all of
this
them?
is the no. So the subs are listed separately in this list. So there's here. This was the previous Bordeaux. They've all adopted the final name of that place. So Aquitaine changed to Gaul on the last turn, I think.
Yes, and the important thing is that this player was a sub, so they did not have the full 8 years, right? They only had like 4.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Right, like they were very active, posting constantly. So that is a big thing to pay attention to. And part of the scary part of this is that it really does look like the more active you are, just the better it goes. You see Austria, that's Freiburg, the wheel, who's up to 4,000, and like basically if you want to do well in these types of games, you kind of just have to be incredibly active and posting all the time everywhere.
Notably, being active doesn't guarantee you do well.
It does not guarantee you do well, but it is like none of the players who were like, if you look down and start scrolling down to the inactive players, right, and go down to the bottom, you're going to see a ton of players who get eliminated. And part of it is obviously if you get eliminated early, then you don't send that many messages. But like, sending message is necessary to do well in these games, and not sending messages isn't like it's pretty much guaranteeing that you're going to die. So you have to be really active, which is why it's such a commitment.
Oh, yeah, but see, even the players down here who really didn't last very long, like Whistloff died in the first turn, right? They got pushed out. They're still sending 67 messages of chat, which, when you think about it, is not much compared to what these people at the top were doing. It's still quite a commitment for one phase.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's why it's such a daunting commitment to be in a game like this, and why when people are saying, "Oh, we should do more of this," it's like, yeah, it was
Yep.
fun. I'm glad I did it, but also like needing to read all of these messages, send all of these messages, be active everywhere. I'm curious if they have a word count. I don't think they do, because obviously it's more of a commitment to send a like 1,000 letter post than it is to sound 1,000 word post than it is to send like a thumbs up. I sent
Yeah.
a lot of nods and thumbs up, so I think I'm inflated on this score.
Yeah. There's a lot of other great info on this sheet. Like these charts, I think there's just too many people for them to make much sense during it. But there's a really nice one here. I think percentage of supply centers owned by powers with X supply centers was I like this chart a lot. I'm in the bottom 20%, of course, here. But it
Yep.
does show you, like, number of powers on X supply centers. 47 powers got eliminated, but towards the end, there was still 16 powers on one supply center, right? This is, the vast majority of people never got past the first hurdle, right? So I
Yeah,
don't
well, it's
feel
worth
too
noting
bad
at the
about
at
my
the end of the
position.
game, like there were some players. You'll notice there were only 14 players on one supply center, with 1 year left. I think there were players who were on two who then said, "I don't care anymore, right? I can't win, so I'm gonna give up a center to someone for whatever reason."
Yeah, that's
And
fair
so
enough.
I that sort of stuff that does happen. But yes, getting to two supply centers is a huge, huge hurdle in Chaos games. It is so important to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, I would have thought this elimination number would be higher. Like before the
yeah,
game started, I would have thought it would be down to like, I don't know, 10 or 15. But a good half of the players survived the game. Like, well, not quite half, but
like a
close to
third, I
half.
think.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. I'm trying to think if there were like this is just good info to have. They have a famous last words
Jeez,
sheet
okay.
where they like save Nava's final words against Ezio. uh,
Yeah. There's a lot of people who had last words to be anti-Ezio.
yes. This is like the full doc. Um,
Narva at least has a valid one, because I actually did kill him.
yeah, and there's like the amount of press sent in each channel. Towards the end, it's like France was communicating in Dahoma, so we were trying to push Dahoma to be the biggest, and I think it makes it on like one phase of the entire thing. It's this one, right, where it just about beats out Elm. But if you look at the messages sent leaderboard, you can see why Elm Fire is a thing, because all three of these players were using Elm primarily as their chat, and so was Bob's a Builder in Sardinia Piedmont. Um, I don't even know who the Fatimids were. Is that
People like
is that
I really am
Tunis?
annoyed. Everyone changed their names last turn. Also, means I probably actually could have formed Sweden.
Oh, that
But
that must be Tunis, right? Because they're on three. So
yeah, Tunis makes sense since they stayed alive. But doesn't did they end up in Cairo?
yeah, they did manage to take
Okay, so
Cairo at the
that's
end.
that's why that works. Okay, fine.
And yeah, so if you want to look through this sheet, it'll be linked in the description below. This brings us, unless Ezio, is there anything you want to say towards the end?
One more congratulations to Aquitaine and Freiburg for actually winning the game.
Yes.
Like, I don't think enough kudos have been given, because it is really impressive. It is really hard to do. Um, and Freiburg coming back from one supply center, they were on one center with like 4 years or 5 years left in the game, and had to fight tooth and nail. They stabbed to get back up to two to counter Nuremberg stab, and then they got back down to one, and then they still managed to fight back and get up to seven with an excellent dot to get to two, and then a double dot to get to four, and then with 2 years out, they managed to get +3. That's a really impressive game plan. And then Aquitaine to take over as a sub, and to not only maintain the previous alliance that you had, but then successfully stab it and not piss off everyone else. to use the coalition against Luxembourg. If you look at the end of the day, you're like Aquitaine is the one who ended up with 3 of Luxembourg's centers that they had. The only one they didn't quite get was Utrecht, but they also picked up Paris along the way. Like that's just really, really good play, and they deserve all the credit they get.
Yep, absolutely.
And more than we've given. So go and give them thumbs up. Give them congratulations.
Yeah, massive congratulations to Freiburg and Aquitaine on winning this. Notably, 81-player game, 2 people came out with the win. So that is a lot of people you have to fight your way through to get to the top of the table here. Congratulations to both of you. Absolutely fantastic play. And thank you to everyone who played and who participated in this, especially who followed the link through to the server and signed up when it looked like we might not have enough players, right? So it was just an absolutely fantastic experience, and I really hope to be able to do a Chaos game like this again in future. It was brilliant. Ezio, I hope you'd be down for another one at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, but next time we should do the full map.
Yes.
The full Impedit map, 300
centers.
Yeah, but that's really like, it's not like I'm going to spend more time paying attention to this game, right? I was already doing this, like, I mean, I have my full-time job, but basically went home, did this, and nothing but this for a couple of weeks. So it's not going to take more time. Also, I would like to see this game with no end year. I really think that made it feel less bad.
I don't want to play it without an end year, just because I don't know how long I'd have to commit to, like.
Well, you wouldn't have to commit very long, because you're going to get eliminated in O2 next time.
Okay, try me. Come at me. I will kill you in the next game.
Yeah, right.
Alright. Well,
didn't you threaten to try to kill me in this game?
I did.
Weren't you trying to make that happen?
I didn't get anywhere close to you.
Yeah.
Goddamn Salt being between us. Salt, you shouldn't...
Wait, it's Salt's fault?
It is Salt's fault. I would have been able to kill you otherwise, I'm sure.
Sure of it. Alright. Well, nice game, everybody.
Alright, well, thank you very much for watching. I do want to finish with a reference to one of my favourite comics, because it just... this board state very much reminded me of it. So, the year is... I don't actually remember the year. God, this reference is going to be bad. The year is 30 AD. All Gaul is conquered. All Gaul? Well, not all Gaul. In one small village still holds out. And will forever. This has been Cardinal Ghent of Nantes and Salty Ezio of Stockholm, not Sweden, signing off. See you next time.